Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm hoping everything is working properly. I think it is. I'm going to have to stand up and get my coffee in just a minute. It's brewing right now, but I wanted to come in and start the stream. And then when it's done brewing, we'll get into it. All right, let's talk about Clinton. As you can see, I'm working on a program right now. This is an Angular program. Basically, it shows predictions for how like Senate races will turn out and stuff. But I wrote my own model. And I believe we're going to end up with at least 60 seats in the Senate. Maybe more than that, even. Miki is eating Kashmir's food. I got to go deal with that. I'm going to let Clinton play for a second while I get rid of her, like the rest of Kashmir's food because she has the diabetes. And I'm going to get my coffee too. All right, I'll be back in 1 second.
Secretary Clinton, thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
President Clinton has stated that he severed ties with Epstein around 2005, prior to 2008 conviction. Were you involved or informed of any communication, emails, calls, or meetings related to distancing the foundation and or your family after those 2008 convictions?
I was not.
You had mentioned that this committee had avoided calling people to testify who should be sitting here. I would like to show you some emails. If the staff could please pass out to the members and the secretary EFTA 00878421 and EFTA 007058660, please, so she can see it.
This will be exhibit 14 and 15 for the majority.
I'll wait till you get them so you can see them.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. Yes, we want. There's two. Are there two separate? Yes. Thank you. And I'm going to pass them down because I have more from my colleague. And one more. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And the least
They're the same. There's two different documents.
There's two, yeah, they're two emails, both different EFTAs. Secretary Clinton, would you please read EFTA 007058660? Just, you don't have to read from, it's to Jeffrey Epstein, but can you read the context of the email?
Sorry, could you state the number again? Is the number at the bottom?
Yes, it's at the bottom. It's EFTA 007058660.
Okay, sorry. Let's see, where was I? Markers. We were at 234. Alrighty, awesome. Hillary Clinton is about to, or let me rephrase. Hillary Clinton is testifying in the Epstein probe or whatever. Let's give this a listen, see what she has to say. This is her being grilled by the majority party, by the Republicans right now.
Secretary Clinton, thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
President Clinton has stated that he severed ties with Epstein around 2005, prior to 2008 conviction. Were you involved or informed of any communication, emails, calls, or meetings related to distancing the foundation and or your family after those 2008 convictions?
I was not.
You had mentioned that this committee had avoided calling people to testify who should be sitting here.
Donald Trump, namely. Yes, of course.
I would like to show you some emails. If the staff could please pass out to the members and the secretary EFTA 00878421 and EFTA 007058660, please, so she can see it.
This will be exhibit 14 and 15 for the majority.
I'll wait till you get them so you can see them.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. Yes, we want. There's two. Are there two separate? Yes. Thank you. And I'm going to pass them down because I have more from my colleague. And one more. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And the least
They're the same. There's two different documents.
There's two, yeah, they're two
I'll probably end up cutting out the boring sections, but yeah.
emails, both different EFTAs. Secretary Clinton, would you please read EFTA 007058660? Just, you don't have to read from, it's to Jeffrey Epstein, but can you read the context of the email?
Sir, could you state the number again? Is the number at the
Yes,
bottom?
it's at the bottom. It's EFTA 007058660.
This is majority, 14.
14, yes, sir.
Thank you for a fun night. Your littlest girl was a little naughty.
We found out who that was. That was Les Wexner, the head of Victoria's Secret.
How does that make you feel?
Makes me sick.
If you can also read the EFTA 008788421. This is also another email. Can you just please provide the context? It's an email to Jeffrey Epstein. If you could just read the context of what it is.
Of course, the Jesus, Ohio
Jesus.
Jesus, I'm coming trick.
And just the main body of the context of the email.
Said that she felt God's presence next to her when she was in bed. She knows that Jesus watches over her and he helped save her life.
What the fuck?
Whoops.
How does that make you feel?
It's bizarre. I don't know what it means.
The reason I asked you to read both of these is because these emails were both sent by co-conspirators that were then given the plea deals and now have been given victim status. Both of these women were also named in an FBI document, and they're on a number of other emails. Do you believe that the Department of Justice should reevaluate the plea deals for some of these women, given that, as you can see, they have clearly done some things probably that they shouldn't have?
I don't understand what the question is. Is she saying that the girls enjoyed the rape and so we should charge the girls too? Is that what she's saying? I'm so confused by what she's even asking.
I don't know the status of whether that would be legally possible, so I have no opinion.
I think outside of the statute of limitations, they might be able to reinvestigate under the civil rights violations. Would you be in favor of that, or looking into any of the co-conspirators that were given plea deals down to victim status if there's credible evidence that they were trafficking young girls?
I think it should be pursued.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I actually know a bit about this, how Jeffrey Epstein ran his sex trafficking ring. He would basically find girls at local middle schools and high schools, or he'd have somebody do it, Ghislaine Maxwell, who were sitting off in a corner alone. He would have them come over, and then they would groom this girl, and then they would give her $300 or $500, and they would tell her, if you bring another girl to us, we will give you another 200 and she'll get 300 for bringing one. So I guess they just described a co-conspirator being reduced to a victim and what she did, and they're asking if her plea deal should be reevaluated. That's a hard question. I don't think they should reevaluate. I think they should treat them as victims. They were groomed.
Hold on. I'd like to also show you another EFTA, if the staff can also pass this to the secretary. It's EFTA 016562117.
Should be Exhibit 16 for the majority.
Bro, did they just say 6-7? I think I heard them say 6-7 just now.
Exhibit 16 for the majority.
016562117.
No, never mind. Disregard.
Should be Exhibit 16 for the majority.
Again, I think double jeopardy would apply here, so it doesn't matter. You can't refile charges if a plea deal has already been reached, right?
And I'd also like to reflect on those previous EFTAs. The EFTA 0070586, that was actually sent by a woman by the name of Susan Hamlin. And then the other EFTA 0087841 was sent by a woman named Nadia, who's also listed in other files as well.
Is it single pages? Oh, sorry.
Secretary Clinton, this was actually out of an FBI briefing document when Epstein was in his New York trial. If you can look at the top left, the individual photo, who is that individual?
I can't tell. It's such a small, blurry picture.
Okay. For those that want to pull up the file, the photos of Jeffrey Epstein. This is actually a passport that was given. The individual's name is Marcus Robert Fortinelli. Do you think that this is a sign or a telltale sign of intelligence?
A telltale sign, you say? I have this system where on Breath of the Wild 2, I cook 5 speed boosters, 30 minutes each, and I know that blood moons, like we see here, only happen once every 2 hours and 48 minutes. So by the time I get most of the way through my final 30-minute speed booster, the blood moon should be happening. But I literally just took the first one 5 minutes ago. So something's going wrong in memory where it feels the need to clear the memory rapidly. That only happens if there's an issue and it's like too full of things it has to keep track of. That's really interesting.
Operations and pseudonyms.
I can't speculate. I don't know.
Okay. Victims have stated to this committee, both Democrats and Republicans, that during Epstein's time, during his day camp jail is what I'll call it, that he was also in active communication with Bush's CIA director. They also had stated that he had active ties to Russia, Israel, and Iran. Given your status, not just as the First Lady, but also in your secretary position, have you ever been targeted by any of these countries as a means of a foreign intelligence gathering operation? Are you aware of potential vulnerabilities?
Yeah, I was targeted by Russia in the 2016 campaign. I mean, I think that's pretty well known.
What about Israel or Iran?
I don't know about either Israel or Iran.
That's interesting.
Okay, do you believe that Epstein was running potentially a honeypot operation with intelligence gathering operations to collect information on high-profile individuals, both Democrat and Republican in the United States, in an effort to sway our foreign policies?
I think that's... Wow, in an effort to sway our foreign policy. Let's see what she says.
Is it possible?
I have no direct knowledge, but I think it's one of the areas your committee should investigate.
Do you think it's possible?
It's totally possible.
Well, it's certainly possible. It's a tried and true technique of certain intelligence agencies.
Do you believe that he was using honeypots in an effort to...
I can't speculate. I don't know.
Okay, and on the topic of transparency, Secretary, were you ever denied access, or did you ever inquire on the topic of UAP or Gilgamesh in your official or personal capacity, and why?
I was never denied access because I never asked for access.
Okay. In the efforts of having a transparent government and restoring faith within our country, do you believe that the American people deserve access to those topics?
I do. Subject to any national security implications, I think the information should be made available. I think that's been ordered. Or
What the hell is she talking about? Gilgamesh and something?
Faith within our country, do you believe that the American people deserve access to those topics? And, in the efforts of having a transparent government and restoring faith within our country, do you believe that the American people deserve access to those topics?
I do. Subject to any national security implications, I think the information access because I never
capacity and why denied access, or did you ever inquire on the topic of UAP or Gilgamesh in your
Subject Okay. I've never heard of that before. I'm not sure what. I mean, UAP, I assume they're referring to like UFOs, right? Gilgamesh questions a fringe conspiracy theory claiming the U.S. government discovered the tomb and possibly remains of Gilgamesh, the hero of the ancient Sumerian/Mesopotamian epic, during the 2003 Iraq invasion, and suppressed it as evidence of non-human or alien hybrids. The question was asked by Anna Paulina Luna, who's been active on UAP disclosure, and tied to theories claiming the U.S. found the ancient Sumerian king's tomb in Iraq post-2003, connecting it to alleged non-human hybrids. Wow, I've never heard of this before. That is fascinating. The UAP question was more straightforward. One of the more vocal lawmakers pushing for UAP file releases, Eric Burleson, pointed to comments made by Clinton aides during her 2016 campaign that she would declassify UAP documents if elected. Okay. I've never heard of this Gilgamesh thing. That is very interesting. Whoop.
I have no reason to believe that.
By the by, she's being questioned by Representative Luna. Hang on. I've never heard of Luna before, believe it or not. But Anna Paulina Luna is Republican from Florida's 13th district, St. Petersburg area. Hey, I lived there, in that area. First elected in 2022, and the first Mexican-American woman elected to Congress from Florida. She's an Air Force veteran who served 2009 to 2014. She chairs the Task Force on Declassification of Federal Secrets and sits on the Oversight and Government Reform Committee, which is what put her in the room for the Clinton deposition. That is very interesting. Okay. Her sharp turn to the right, her account of an isolated and impoverished childhood, and her embrace of her Hispanic heritage have surprised some friends and family who knew her before her rise to Congress. The Washington Post did a fairly critical profile of inconsistency in her biography. She's a MAGA-aligned figure endorsed by Trump, Charlie Kirk, and Matt Gaetz. She sponsored the resolution censuring Adam Schiff and introduced a bill to add Trump's face to Mount Rushmore. Though, that type of person. Okay. Let's just get a picture of her so we know who we're talking about. I've never heard of her either. This is her right here. Anna Paulina Luna, MAGA nutcase.
I don't have any information.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. I yield my time.
Thank you. Representative Fallon. Yeah. Can you get front of me now?
No, just-
Okay, all right, good.
Afternoon.
Hi. Could you identify yourself? I'm
Yes,
sorry.
sure. Pat Fallon, 4th District of
Pat
Texas.
Fallon, okay.
Native of Massachusetts, but no one would vote for me there. I moved to Texas. So, Matt, I'm a pretty simple guy. I just want to keep things simple and just ask you some questions, give you a chance to respond. So, July 25th, unanimous oversight subcommittee voted to subpoena yourself and your husband. On the 25th of August, Chairman Comer issued a lawful subpoena, which I would think.
Yes, Pat Fallon. Pat Fallon is from Texas. This is what he looks like. Representative Patrick Fallon. I've never heard of him either. He's apparently a fairly standard MAGA-aligned Texas conservative, especially notable on his own, but his seat on the Oversight Committee is what put him in the deposition room. He also sits on Armed Services and the Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. So he's plugged into national security / intelligence oversight.
It's fair to say you didn't cooperate. There was a lot of delays. It was August. We're now in February. The deposition was set in December, then it was delayed and moved to January, and now here we are in February. We all get accused of things. The higher you go up in the ladder, the more people are accused.
Give it a fucking rest, dude. She's completely unnecessary in this room. She had nothing to do with Epstein. Why the fuck is she here?
If I don't have anything to hide, I'm eager to come in and testify. I just find that interesting.
Yeah, well, obviously these people like playing political games. Like, they questioned her and grilled her on stupid, pointless shit for literally 2 hours. It meant nothing. It was an absolutely worthless, pointless meeting.
Why the delay for 6 months?
Well, I think, as I've said, we negotiated in good faith, and I believe the committee negotiated in good faith for a while, because we thought, at least I'll speak for myself, that I could provide whatever information I had, which was not much, in the same form that you accepted it from former attorneys general and FBI directors who had much more direct knowledge, or could have had much more direct knowledge about the investigation you were conducting. And I found it bewildering that I couldn't provide what I knew in writing under penalty of perjury, as others had done.
Okay. I'd say better late than never, so I'm glad you are here. On the in September of 22, ABC program The View had you as a guest, and you were quoted as saying, "No one is above the law." Still agree with that?
I agree with that.
Yeah, as do I, and I think Secretary Clinton, that's why you're.
I absolutely agree with that.
When did you first meet Jeffrey Epstein?
I never met Jeffrey
You never yet?
Epstein.
Okay. When did you first meet Giselle Maxwell?
I have
Ghislaine
no.
Maxwell.
Giselle Maxwell. When did you meet Giselle Maxwell? These people are so fucking stupid, dude.
I have no recollection of when I first
So
met
you
her.
might have met her, but you don't remember.
I do not.
Okay. So you'd obviously describe your relationship as pretty much non-existent with both of them.
Yeah, I had at least a casual acquaintance with her. I had
her,
nothing
okay.
with him.
Okay. Would you describe your husband's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein as limited, cordial, close?
Limited for a limited period of time with respect to using his airplane.
Okay. And how about your husband's relationship with Ms. Maxwell?
I think that they knew each other for a longer period of time.
Okay. So just for the record, in 1992, Epstein donated $1,000 to your husband's presidential campaign. In 93, $10,000 to the White House Historical Association while you were in the White House and your husband were. And then he visited the White House, as we've said, I think ad nauseum, 17 times from 93 to 95. And then in 99, a $20,000 donation to Senate campaign or an affiliate allied campaign. And then in 2006, $25,000 to the Clinton Foundation.
Like, Hillary doesn't control what people donate to her campaign or who donates. She literally never even met Epstein. It wasn't a blip on her radar, obviously, right?
And then post-Clinton presidency, your husband was on the plane somewhere in the neighborhood of 26 times.
Yes, that's because of his trip to Asia and Africa for the Clinton Foundation. Obviously, this has been asked and answered like 16 times already.
Right?
I can't vouch for everything you just said. I can't vouch for.
All right, but you're not disputing it vehemently. So,
No, I'm not accepting it, but
Okay.
I can't vouch for it. I can't
Okay.
respond to
I
it.
see. All right. In 2008, Jeffrey Epstein was convicted of 2 felony counts. Correct?
Were they
I believe-
felonies? I don't recall.
They were federal felonies, yeah.
Were they felonies?
Or state felonies.
State felonies, okay.
Felonies nonetheless. Okay. So just bear with me on this because, again, give you a chance to respond. Your husband ran for governor 5 times. The last time in 90 or in 86, I think he got almost 500,000 votes. In 92, he got 45 million votes, 47 million in 96. When you ran in 08, you got nearly 20 million in the primary. And he was governor, you were senator, secretary of state, he was president. You've met hundreds of thousands of people, probably way more than the average typical person would. And my point here is all these millions of people that supported you and your husband, hundreds of thousands that you met. In 2010, one of the most significant events of your life is going to be your only daughter's wedding. You have 500 wedding guests from all reports. That means, and there's a groom involved, so you're distilling down to 250. Only 250 people can be
Yeah, Ghislaine Maxwell was there as a guest of, I think, Hillary Clinton, or I think Chelsea Clinton's husband. I could be wrong.
And it's your testimony that, how did Ms. Maxwell end up at the wedding?
It's 250 fucking people, dude. Do you know how many that is? You don't know 250 people. Let me look something up. This is Dunbar's number. This is what it's called. Dunbar's number. 5 intimate relationships, close family, best friends. 15 close friends. 50 meaningful social contacts. 150, the Dunbar number. People you invite to a party and it wouldn't be weird. Or 500 acquaintances you can put a name to a face. Or 1,500 faces you can recognize. So she invited more people than she could know. It was beyond Dunbar's number, if you're wondering. Like, he's trying to come up with some kind of a got you, like, oh, check that out. You invited them, so you must have known them. That's not the case. You can invite people that you recognize or whatever. And either way, it doesn't matter because they weren't invited to the party by Hillary Clinton or Bill. It was like Ted Waite or something that invited Ghislaine Maxwell, right?
She was the guest of Ted Waite, who was a longtime friend of our family.
So it was just an odd coincidence.
No, it wasn't an odd coincidence. He was invited, or she was invited by Ted Waite. Where did you get odd coincidence from this?
She was at one of the most... No, I mean, that's fine. If that's your testimony, that's your testimony.
I was not telling my dates who their guests could, or my guests who their dates could be.
It's just an odd coincidence. Okay.
What does he mean by it's an odd coincidence? That is the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my fucking life. It was a friend that invited Ghislaine Maxwell. Didn't even invite Jeffrey Epstein.
Would you describe your husband as a smart guy?
Excuse me, are you asking her to testify about her husband
Not
instead of, because
his-
he's going to be here tomorrow, so you can
you
ask
think
questions
he's-
to the witness
Ma'am.
that is for her, but it seems to me that you are asking questions that
Counselor.
are requiring opinion. Can you ask a question that is?
How long have you
with
been
respect to
married?
that?
Can I ask that?
Oh, do I have to answer that? 50 years.
He's a pretty smart guy by all accounts. Would you agree with that?
She's refusing to answer now because he already asked that and the counselor shot it down. That's funny.
Highly intelligent. I think he is. I didn't vote for him,
Well,
but I think he
then
is.
I will.
We're going to agree
concur
on
with
that?
your
I mean, I don't
opinion.
think that's controversial, Counselor, because
Bill Clinton is actually very smart. Like, very fucking smart. He was a Rhodes Scholar, I believe, and incredibly knowledgeable about so fucking much.
everybody that I've ever met that has met your husband and has firsthand experience describes him as the smartest guy in the room when you're in the room. Very smart, scary recall. Like if he meets you 20 years later, he remembers what you wore, what they were saying, which is a great tool and asset.
Okay, I don't know what remembering people's faces has to do with being smart or why you tried to shoehorn that in, but all right.
When you're a politician. I don't think that's... So with this great recall, I'm sure it served him well in his political career. So I just find it surprising.
Wait, I'm sorry. How did we establish he has long recall? Are you just like building this in as an assumption? I've heard Bill Clinton is smart. I've never heard that he has long recall. Who the fuck told him that?
When you're a politician. I don't think that's... So with this great recall, I'm sure it served him well in his political career. So I just find it surprising that on January 26th, y'all sent a joint letter from you and him where he asserted that he, quote, didn't recall encountering Mr. Epstein or any specific interactions with him while in office.
That was his recollection.
Okay. But even though we've established that he was in the White House, Epstein, I'm talking about 17 times, and there's a public report that there were personal tours given, not only the White House, but even the residence, and somebody that smart just happened not to remember any.
I'm sorry. What does being smart have to do with remembering things? I'm lost. I'm just like, I feel like this dude is trying to... This is like the Chewbacca defense. You guys ever heard of that? The Chewbacca defense? Goes like this. Hold on. Let me pull it up on, oh my God, YouTube. Here. I hope I don't get a copyright strike. Oop. See this video in the corner? Did Germans know about the Holocaust during the war? The answer is yes. They knew everything. They knew it all. Here you go.
And so, on this 15th day of what is considered to be the most important trial of the day, Johnny Cochran has appeared to defend capitalist records. The question now is, will Cochran use his famous Chewbacca defense?
What's a Chewbacca defense? I don't know. That's what Cochran used in the O.J. Simpson trial. God damn, I hate that Cochran guy. If he was here in front of me, I'd be like, hey, you stupid son of a bitch. How'd you like me to kick you in the nuts? I'm sure that would scare the hell out of him, Cartman.
And so, in summation, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you've heard the version of my client's song recorded over 20 years ago. You've heard the exact same song produced by these cheats in the past month. I'd say it's pretty much an open and shut case. Make the right decision. Thank you. We've got him.
Mr. Johnny Cochran, your closing arguments. Ladies and gentlemen of the supposed jury, Chef's attorney would certainly want you to believe that his client wrote Stinky Britches 10 years ago. And they make a good case. Hell, I almost felt pity myself. But ladies and gentlemen of this supposed jury, I have one final thing I want you to consider. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Chewbacca. Chewbacca is a Wookiee from the planet Kashyyyk. But Chewbacca lives on the planet Endor. Now think about that. That does not make sense.
That's the Chewbacca defense. Chewbacca lives on a planet. That does not make sense. It has absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about. Completely unconnected in any way, shape, or form. Why the fuck are you even bringing it up? That is effectively what this dude is doing right now. He says, Bill Clinton is very smart. And that means he has great recall. That does not make sense.
Was given not only the White House, but even the residents. And somebody that smart just happened not to remember any of it.
This would
What does smart and not remembering things have to do with literally fucking anything? I am so goddamn lost right now.
This can answer questions about her own declaration, about what she recalls or knew. Again, the president is going to be here tomorrow.
All right. Well, your client talked about patterns in practice, and Bill Clinton, her husband, said that he doesn't remember meeting Epstein during his time in office. Took trips with him, or took trips on his plane to.
After he left office, he took trips on the plane. Yes, very good. He said he doesn't remember meeting him in office. After he left office, he helped fund the Clinton Foundation. Seriously, I have no investment in defending Bill Clinton here, but this guy is completely full of fucking shit.
New York, England, Japan, China, Singapore, Bangkok, Brunei, Rwanda, Mozambique, South Africa, France, Norway, and many more. So it's really not a question of where they went together, but where they didn't go together. Do you know the colloquial name for Little St. James Island?
No.
It's Epstein Island.
Okay.
I'll refer to it in both contexts. To your knowledge, did your husband ever visit Little St. James Island?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Do you know who?
I believe that he did not visit Epstein Island. I believe he didn't visit the Virgin Islands at all. By the way, the fact that the Epstein Islands are in the Virgin Islands is kind of misnamed, right? Also, I noticed there's a Pokestop on Epstein Island, and I got to thinking, why the fuck is there a Pokestop there? Because there's so many kids there. It makes sense now.
Doug Band is?
He worked for my husband, yes.
So by reports on the press, he was a key architect of the Bill Clinton post-presidency, a top aide, the body man, the fixer, a counselor, and a close advisor. Would you disagree with any of those?
He worked for him in a number of capacities.
About 10 years, 02 to 12, I think it was.
He worked for him
Decade, give
I
or
don't
take.
know.
Give or take.
I can't
Fair to say,
answer that.
give or take a decade? Okay. He's on the record as asserting that Mr. Clinton did indeed visit Epstein Island. Do you think he's lying?
Yes.
Okay, why would he lie?
I don't know. You'd have to ask him.
Okay. And then,
I don't actually believe that half the shit that they're saying in this is fake. Like, half the shit that these congressmen are saying is completely made up. And the other half is twisted completely out of proportion and nonsensical. I don't believe that there's evidence that Bill Clinton was ever on the island.
Virginia.
Oop, I'm sorry.
Okay, why would he lie?
Wait, who was it that lied again? I'm sorry.
12, I think it was.
We worked for him. I
Decade,
don't
give or
know capacity.
About 10 years, 02 to 12, I think it was.
We worked for him.
Decade, give
I
or
don't
take.
know.
Give or take a close advisor. Would you disagree? Post-presidency, a top aide, the body man, the fixer, a counselor, a close advisor. Would you disagree with those?
My husband, yes. My knowledge.
Okay. Do you know who Doug Band is?
Doug Band. I've never heard the name. So he was like a fixer, an aide, or whatever. All right.
I can't
Fair to
answer
say,
that.
give or take a decade? Okay. He's on the record as asserting that Mr. Clinton did indeed visit Epstein Island. Do you think he's lying?
Yes.
Let me see. Visited. Actually, a Republican. Let's see if I can find some info on this. In a 2020 Vanity Fair interview, Band claimed Clinton visited the island in January 2003, and that he himself did not accompany Clinton on that alleged trip. Critically, that interview came out in the context of Band's bitter falling out with the Clintons. He was airing grievances, which is important context for evaluating the claim. The evidence cuts against Band. A Freedom of Information Act request to the U.S. Secret Service found no evidence that Clinton ever visited Epstein's Island. Epstein himself denied it in private emails. In a 2011 email, someone he identified as the Duke, Epstein, wrote that Clinton was never on the island. I keep getting, like, notifications, and I don't know why or what it is. Okay. Ghislaine Maxwell said she was sure Clinton absolutely never went to the island. Emails released by the Justice Department under the Epstein Files Transparency Act also indicated Clinton did not go to the island. Even Trump's own White House Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, said Trump was wrong when he claimed Clinton visited dozens of times. Clinton did not visit Epstein's Island. There's no evidence of that right now. Zero.
Okay, why would he lie?
I don't know. You'd have to ask him.
Okay. And then, Virginia, have you heard of Virginia? I'm sure you didn't meet her, but have you heard of Virginia Giuffre?
I've heard about her in
She
the
was
press
I
coverage.
didn't ever meet her.
Yeah.
She was
I actually know this one too. So basically, Virginia Giuffre said she was told by Ghislaine Maxwell that Clinton went to the island. She told a helicopter story. But then Ghislaine Maxwell basically said, no, that's not who I was talking about. And Giuffre corrected herself and said, oh, my mistake. That was not what I meant. Or that wasn't the correct story or whatever. So both people who were in the story or part of the story or whatever set the record straight. Again, there's zero evidence that Clinton was ever on the island.
She was a victim of Epstein. Tragically, she didn't survive. She's no longer with us. She testified under oath that she saw Mr. Clinton on Epstein Island 2 separate occasions.
I don't believe she testified under oath. I could be wrong here. I think that this is a story that she was telling, and she was incorrect about it.
You think she's lying? Or at least
I have
inaccurate?
no information whatsoever that he was ever on the island.
Just trying to be fair.
Like, why is he even asking her this? I don't understand. What does she have to do with this question, conversation, whatever? Like, she was not there for him being on the island, even if he were on the island. And I don't think he was.
Why do you think that is? I mean, that's my question.
I'm not
I don't-
going to offer opinions.
All
I
right,
don't,
that's
I don't
fair.
have any
Okay.
information.
Further to your point earlier about practices and patterns, now there's a third person, Steve Scully. Have you ever heard of him?
Who?
Steve Scully.
Steve Scully?
Yes.
I know of a Steve Scully who was at Apple.
He was an IT contractor on the infamous aforementioned island. He also asserts that he saw Mr. Clinton, and this is a quote from him, lounging around the porch area of Little St. James Villa. It's just oddly specific. Do you think this third person was lying as well?
I don't.
Wait, what did he say? What did this alleged Steve Scully guy say?
Clinton, and this is a quote from him, lounging around the porch area of Little St. James Villa. It's just oddly specific. Do you think this third person was lying as well?
I don't know information about
You'd
Mr.
see how
Scully.
that would, I wanted to ask you that because I find that odd. It's a pattern in practice, as you mentioned. Have you ever visited Epstein Island or Little St. James Island?
No.
Okay, so just to be clear, it is your testimony that, for instance, you never flew in a private plane, flew into St. Thomas Airport, and then didn't enter the terminal, but instead boarded a helicopter to Little St. James Island. You never did that.
What? It's so fucking bizarre to hear them just like completely make shit up and be very, very oddly specific about the lies. Scully is real and his claim predates the current deposition. Steve Scully was Epstein's longtime IT contractor who maintained the phones and internet on the island. He appeared in the 2020 Netflix documentary Jeffrey Epstein, Filthy Rich, where he claimed he once saw Clinton on the island, though he noted no other guests were present at the time. Key things to flag, though, here. Scully didn't witness any wrongdoing. His account weakens the more and his account actually weakens the more sensational claims. Scully said no other guests were there when Clinton was present, which directly contradicts Virginia Guffrey's account of Clinton being there with young girls. The two witnesses cannot both be right. The documentary evidence still cuts against it. The Secret Service FOIA request found nothing. Epstein denied it in the emails. Maxwell denied it. The Department of Justice document released supports Clinton's denial. So no, this is all like hearsay at best from either people who overheard a conversation and thought it was real or misunderstood it, or disgusting scumbags. That's who is saying this kind of stuff. But the actual evidence does not support Clinton ever being on the island.
I did not.
Okay. So Virginia Giuffre, who we just talked about, who we all found highly credible, I think, bipartisan, but in a bipartisan manner, stated that Mr. Clinton walked in.
Guffrey, is that who he said?
So Virginia Giuffre.
No, she was not credible. She was not credible. She was a victim and didn't deserve to be treated the way that she did. And I want justice on her behalf, but she was not a credible witness at all. It's ridiculous to claim that she was a credible witness. She said all kinds of things that were incorrect. Not like lying, not trying to twist facts around. She wasn't like a Republican operative or anything. She was just not a credible witness, period. That's absurd.
Who we just talked about, who we all found highly credible, I think.
No.
Bipartisan, but in a bipartisan manner, stated that Mr. Clinton walked in a Vanity Fair and threatened them and that they better not write an expose detailing the crimes of, quote, his good friend, Jeffrey Epstein. Do you find that troubling at all?
I find it not believable.
Okay.
Yeah, half the shit she said was not true or accurate. It was hearsay. She just wasn't she was not a credible witness, bottom line. Which is okay. Again, she's not a bad person. She just wasn't a good witness, is all. Some witnesses are good, some are not.
Let's turn to the current administration and president, because you said some pretty choice words of the administration and President Trump, aggressive and even some coupled with incendiary claims about President Trump and his DOJ. You fair to say that you would not describe them as transparent?
Well, obviously not. They haven't released the files, right?
I would not describe him as transparent.
Okay. How about you were an enthusiastic supporter of Joe Biden and Vice President Harris when each of them respectively ran for president?
I was.
Okay. Would you describe the Biden-Harris administration as an administration that was committed to transparency?
Significantly more transparent. Not even close. Significantly more transparent than the Trump administration. And comparing them is an embarrassment. Donald Trump is a vile fucking scumbag who is setting out to twist things around and hide shit and cover up his own crimes. Yes, he is way more transparent than Donald Trump.
To the best of their ability.
Okay. You also asserted, and if I get this wrong, please let me know, that, or at least insinuated that President Trump was closer to Epstein than your husband, socially.
I think there's an enormous amount of evidence that goes back many, many years demonstrating their relationship.
Okay.
Yes, like Trump's name is in the files more than God's name is in the Bible, or Jesus' name is in the Bible. More times than Harry Potter's name is in the book, or the book series Harry Potter. The thing is, I was scrolling through some right-wing subreddits, like I do that sometimes, and I came across an explanation for why that is. The explanation for why Trump's name is in the files more often than God's name is in the Bible is because he was famous. His name was all over the place. It wasn't because he knew Epstein. It's not because he was friends with Epstein or anything. It's just Trump's name was all over the place at the time. That's all. The level of mental gymnastics are fucking astounding, dude.
Do you know how many times Jeffrey Epstein visited the Trump 45 White House?
I do not know.
By all accounts and evidence, 0. And how many?
Yeah, that's because Donald Trump visited Jeffrey Epstein. He went to his house, not the other way around. But this guy's going to, of course, completely ignore that, right?
How many times did he visit the Clinton White House?
I don't know.
That was 17 times. How much did Jeffrey Epstein ever donate to Donald Trump politically?
What does this have to do with being his fucking friend and working with him? What does this have to do with him inviting him to Thanksgiving dinner in 2017? What does this have to do with them working together on the beauty pageant and Jeffrey Epstein's victims turning up in Donald Trump's pageant and vice versa? What does it have to do with that? Why the fuck are you talking about political donations that have absolutely nothing to do with anything at all? What a colossal fucking scumbag. This dude is covering up for and protecting Donald Trump's crimes. He is a pedophile protector is what he is. And it's vile.
No idea.
There was 0. But we have established that he donated to either you or your husband or your committees 21 grand. Not agree?
I have no information that is
like, why are you even asking about this exactly? I don't understand. I'm so fucking lost.
Only based about their relationship.
Jeffrey Epstein donated $35,000 to foundations. One was a $10,000 donation to the White House Historical Society in '93 when the Clintons, your family, was in the White House.
Wait, is that before or after Donald Trump was hanging out with him regularly? I don't remember. Donald Trump hung out with Jeffrey Epstein regularly, didn't he? Didn't he hang out with him at his house? Didn't he hang out with him, or didn't he hang out with one of the survivors? And you're making excuses for this sack of shit. This is wild, dude.
He donated, and then there was that 2006 donation for 25, or 2006 donation to the Clinton Foundation. He's donated, similar to the Trump White House, never, no foundations either. How many pages of the Epstein files were released by the Oversight Committee in 2021 to 23 when the Democrats were in the majority?
I have no idea.
It was 0.
But there was also an ongoing investigation
Is that honorable?
of, I believe, Ghislaine Maxwell during that time period.
Yeah, you couldn't have released it at a certain point because Democrats obey the fucking law when they're in office, unlike Donald Trump, who refuses to obey the fucking law. So I don't want to hear it. There was an ongoing investigation. They could not release those files. But either way, you know what? Fine. Release them. Yes, I will blame Biden for not releasing the files. Absolutely. Release fucking everything. Bury everybody. It's completely irrelevant. We're talking about what Donald Trump is covering up right now.
Great.
So the answer is I can share with you is 0. How many pages did the Biden Department of Justice release from the Epstein files from 21 and 25?
I have no personal information. I have read that because of the trial of Ghislaine Maxwell, that was not done, but I have no personal information.
Yeah.
Yeah, why is he asking her this? I don't as a witness, why would she have any of this information? Are you trying to get to the truth of the matter? Or what? Are you just showboating? Are you just treating her like a political prop to protect a pedophile?
Well, that was 0, and that ended quite a little bit ago now. There were no images and there were no videos. When you compare the GOP Oversight Committee when we took over in January 23 to present, there were 65,000 documents that had been released. And then how many videos? There was nothing under the Biden administration. There was no images as well. There's been 180,000 images, 2,000 videos, and now over 3 million pages.
He's protecting a pedophile. That's going to be his legacy, this guy's. I wonder how he feels about that. I guess he's happy about it, right? I guess he's proud to protect a pedophile.
So when you compare them, that's an odd definition of who's transparent and who isn't. Last thing, we have established that there's a $20,000 donation that Jeffrey Epstein made to an affiliated allied campaign to get you elected to the presidency. Have you returned that or donated that? Once,
what? It wasn't her money. She had nothing to do with that. Why the fuck would she have return or whatever? Why? I don't understand what the point is here. Not only was it not her money, she had absolutely nothing to do with any of it and had no control over it.
Got convicted in 2008 of 2 felony counts. Have you ever returned that $20,000?
It didn't come to my campaign. I was not.
So you've never donated that to charity? That's $20,000.
I've donated many,
It'd be good
many
to
hundreds
donate
of
it perhaps
thousands of dollars.
to
Congressman, I'd like to know the facts in the record that shows that Jeffrey Epstein donated to her presidential campaign.
No, he's talking about the Senate campaign, I think.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
He was talking about presidential campaign.
Oh.
Yeah. 1998 was the Senate. You're right. I stand corrected. But yeah, I think that would be a nice gesture.
Next up, Representative Cloud from Texas.
What a complete piece of shit this dude is. I wonder, this isn't an example of him being crazy. Lauren Boebert is going to come in and she's going to say, all this Pizzagate shit, which is, that's coming up. This is an example of the guy not being a nutcase, but being just a vile, disgusting, evil human being. Literally knowingly, intentionally protecting somebody from consequences who raped children, and he knows that, in my opinion. He's you can't say the shit that he just said and not know that you're protecting a child rapist, right? Here's my problem. He's so good at finding all of these little rabbit trails where Epstein donated here and worked with this group and tried to manage that and, work his little way into this campaign or whatever, work his way into Hillary's life. And he's completely ignoring the fact that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were best friends for 10 years and that Melania and Trump like knew each other through Epstein effectively. That tells me that he's a piece of shit. Not that he actually believes any of this, but that he's a piece of shit.
Hi, could you identify yourself?
Michael Cloud, Texas 27th.
Michael
Cloud, CLAD.
Okay.
And thank you for being here, Madam Secretary. You were asked if Jeffrey Epstein played a role in shaping the Clinton Global Initiative. Is it correct to say that you have mentioned that you do not know whether this was the case or not?
I have no information.
Because
we have a letter.
Because she was not there when it was formed, as they point out later. Like, the Clinton Global Initiative was created by her husband long before she was involved in any way. She was not connected to it in any way, shape, or form until like decades later. CGI is like a subsidiary of the Clinton Foundation or whatever, and she wasn't even like on the board of the Clinton Foundation or involved at all until 10, 15 years after CGI was created. So it's completely pointless to ask her these questions. What? Michael Cloud is a Republican in Texas's 27th congressional district. Let me pull up a picture of him. Looks like a complete fucking scumbag. It looks exactly as I would have expected him to look for some reason. All right, let's keep listening then.
Of course, from Epstein's lawyer stating that he was, and I quote, was part of the original group that conceived the Clinton Global Initiative. If you do not know, who would know?
I don't know because I was not involved.
You don't know who was involved in the
Well, my
beginning?
husband obviously was involved.
So your husband would know at least?
Well, you certainly can ask him.
Okay. Similarly, you've mentioned that you do not know how funds were recruited at the Clinton Global Initiative. Is that an accurate understanding of your testimony today?
No, donations were made. Lots of donations. Many individuals, groups, businesses, philanthropies have donated to the Clinton Global Initiative.
Sure, yeah. What was the process of recruiting those donations, I guess?
Is this like the time for you to learn about how nonprofits operate? Do you think that you should be doing this on your own time instead?
Or what's your understanding of it or your involvement in it?
Some of it was spontaneous. Some of it was through the team that helps to raise money. It's a combination of supporting charitable work.
Do you know if Jeffrey Epstein was involved in helping?
I have
find
no
donors,
reason to
recruit
believe
donors?
that. I don't know.
You don't know if he was involved in donor relations in any way?
I have no, as I say, reason to believe it, but I don't know.
Do you know who would know?
The people.
Did she not just fucking answer that question? Why the fuck are you asking her? She was not there.
Who were involved in raising the money, but I was not involved with CGI in those early years.
What about when you were there?
I have no knowledge that Jeffrey Epstein was involved at all.
How many roughly staff members are there in the Clinton Global Initiative?
It has varied over the years,
Sure.
but hundreds,
And involved with donor relations?
dozens, I suppose.
Dozens? Okay. As best as we know, it's been publicly reported that in 2024, Ghislaine Maxwell, or Ghislaine, I think is how it's pronounced, arranged and wired $1 million to Publicist Group for the inaugural CGI event, referring it to it internally as, quote, the Clinton Project. Epstein was copied on related emails and questioned the timing and destinations of the funds. Were you aware of this $1 million payment?
I was not.
If it's even real. Let me listen one more time.
Inaugural CGI event, referring it to it internally as, quote, the Clinton Project. Epstein was copied on related emails and questioned the timing and destinations of the funds. Were you aware of this $1 million payment?
I was not.
Were you aware of it before today?
No, well, in preparing for
in
this.
preparation, you were made no. Okay.
So I'm assuming that it was real? So emails released by the Department of Justice show Maxwell arranged to wire $1 million to pay publicist Group A. The PR firm that produced the inaugural Clinton Global Initiative event for its work on the Clinton Project. The $1 million went to Publicis, the event production company, not to the Clinton Foundation. The source of the money is unclear, including whether Epstein even provided the funds. The Clinton Foundation's own response is that it accepted only one $25,000 donation in 2006 from an Epstein-affiliated foundation and had no record of any other financial contributions related to Epstein or Maxwell because Publicis funded the development of the event, which they were ultimately hired to produce. So Maxwell did not donate $1 million to the Clinton Foundation, had nothing to do with it, really.
Do you know who would have known?
I don't even know if it's true, so I have no way of telling you.
You don't know who at the Clinton Global Initiative, what staff would have handled $1 million donors?
That wasn't $1 million donation to the Clinton Foundation, though, is the thing. It was a donation to a different company for a different thing.
It didn't go. It went to a group called Publicis,
Right.
which is not the Clinton Global Initiative, so I would not know.
Okay. Well, the email said it was for the Clinton Project, so.
First of all, I have no idea whether that's true, and secondly, it went to a third party.
Okay. Maxwell was honored and given complimentary access at the 2013 CGI conference for, quote, ocean conservation work, years after public allegations against her and Epstein were public. Were you involved in approving participants or honorees at the CGI events?
I was not, but I don't know that there were public allegations at that point in time, so I can't respond to that.
So you were not involved in approval?
I was not.
You didn't know who was going to be honored at the events?
No, I was not.
Okay. Do you know who would have known?
Whoever was the staff at the time, but there's no...
That's what I bet he expected her to say, yes, I was, or something. It's like the other guy completely fabricated information about Hillary Clinton going to the island or whatever the fuck. That was totally made up.
Been a lot of staff turnover over, 20 plus years.
A number of things you've mentioned today, you have not been able to recall.
I don't think she said that very often. She didn't pull one of those I don't recall maneuvers like Bill Barr or like Michael Flynn, where they just say, I don't recall, I plead the fifth over and over and over again. She didn't do that. She's been answering the questions openly and honestly this whole time.
And that's understandable. Is it possible that any of the information that you have not been able to recall would have been found in the 30,000 or 30,000
Oh my, don't fucking start.
emails that went missing?
Okay, those emails were released. I don't know if you guys know this story. This is fucking absurd. This is an absolutely fucking absurd thing to say. Hillary Clinton's emails, like people trying to get their paws on them or whatever, they were her private fucking emails that she was sending to friends and family. And Republicans said, we want your emails. We're going to subpoena you for your emails to see if you discussed anything classified in them. Why the fuck would they think they have a right to look at some private individual's private emails to see if they discussed anything classified? It had nothing to do with literally fucking anything. This drives me insane. And then she deletes her private emails because they're her fucking emails that she sent to her friends and family, and she didn't want Republicans getting their mitts on them so they could run this gigantic, ridiculous fucking propaganda campaign off of it. And Trump comes out there and says, Russia, if you're listening, I would really appreciate it if you got your mitts on Hillary's 30,000 emails. And lo and behold, Russia hacked, not Hillary, but John Podesta, her campaign manager, through a spear phishing hack, and released all of his emails between himself and Hillary and whoever else. And QAnon formed out of that. QAnon formed out of the emails from John Podesta. He was saying, hey, let's go get some cheese pizza from Comet Ping Pong, whatever. And they said, QAnon said, cheese pizza is code for entertainment, adult entertainment of children or whatever. I'm trying to say in a monetizer-friendly way. These people must be taking advantage of children, and Comet Ping Pong Pizzeria, whatever the fuck it was, must be secretly like taking advantage of children as an organization. It was literally a fucking pizzeria. So the question is, what about those 30,000 emails? Those released fucking 15 years ago, and QAnon formed out of it. Why the fuck are they even talking about this?
30,000 emails that went missing.
No, I don't believe so. I had no reason to believe that. So it's not that I'm not recalling things that were there. I don't recall at all.
Okay. Unfortunately, I have to catch a plane. Thank you for your time.
Next will be.
I have to catch a plane. What a stupid fucking thing to say.
Representative Timmons from South Carolina.
Madam Secretary, William
Hello.
Timmons from South Carolina. Thank you for being here today. Throughout this deposition, you've seemed to be a bit incredulous, indignant about being here. Do you think it's inappropriate, it seems?
No, who the fuck would think it's inappropriate? It's just pointless.
I guess I just want to highlight all of the reasons that I see you being here and ask you if you don't think that that justifies your presence. I mean, so we started out this deposition.
Wait, what does this have to do with Jeffrey Epstein? Why the fuck is he asking these questions? This is completely unrelated and nobody gives a fuck.
By asking you about a number of individuals, 50 plus individuals, and the specific question was whether you had spoken to them regarding Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell. So I'm going to highlight 4, and I'm going to tell you why we asked you about them. So do you know Senator Bob Kerrey?
I do know Senator Bob Kerrey.
Okay, and was he not the chair of the Democrat Senatorial Committee when you got elected to the Senate?
I thought it was Bob Torricelli, but I could be wrong.
Okay, well, he was the chair of the DSCC for the 8 years prior to you getting there. He left office when you got sworn in.
Then why the fuck did you ask that if you knew the answer was incorrect?
But obviously, there's a lot of overlap. He's a prominent member. He resigned in disgrace because of his association with Jeffrey Epstein. So there's a commutative property.
No, there isn't a commutative property. He wasn't involved. He wasn't there. He had nothing to fucking do with literally any of this. Why are you asking about this fucking guy that wasn't there when she was running? I don't understand that. Like, math rules do not apply here, okay? There's no fucking commutative, transformative fucking property to human relationships. What the fuck? He literally just fucking said commutative property.
He's in your orbit. He had to resign. Next person is Casey Wasserman.
Mr.
Yes.
Representative, was Bob Kerrey one of the names that was listed?
Bob Kerrey
He wasn't listed in the original list that council
that
read.
was shared with the witness, I don't see
My
that name.
apologies. He was not listed.
Oh, so you're just fucking making things up now. Awesome. Fantastic. Hey, you know that guy that quit the job the year before you started working there that you don't think that seems suspicious? Yeah, exactly. Rust barrier. What are you talking about? And he wasn't even in the list, apparently. Like, did they just slander some fucking guy for no reason? Who had nothing to do with, like, anything at all? What the fuck?
If he was not listed.
No,
but
he was not.
He does
I
have
was
his-
just seeking that clarification.
Thank you. Casey Wasserman Do you know Casey Wasserman?
I do.
Okay. And was he a former trustee of the Clinton Foundation?
I don't know. He wasn't during the time that I was involved.
Okay. Well, it is alleged that he was a former trustee of the Clinton Foundation.
Well, wait, was he or not? Like, I've come to find that I can't trust a word out of your fucking mouth. So I'm going to need something more than it was alleged.
And he also had to resign in disgrace from his company. And obviously there's an association there. So, you know.
There is? There's an association? What association?
Also had to resign in disgrace from his company. And obviously there's an association there. So, you know Larry Summers?
I do know Larry Summers.
Okay. And he was obviously former Treasury Secretary.
Why isn't he doing this shit for Donald Trump, who literally has one of the most obvious Epstein clients, the most well-known Epstein clients, as his Secretary of Commerce, who has actually committed crimes? Why don't you ask Donald Trump about Alex Acosta, who got Jeffrey Epstein that sweetheart deal? What about that? Why the fuck are you asking her about people who might have worked at her organization but actually apparently didn't or something? Like what?
Campaign advisor. Apparently he didn't give you good advice, but you obviously have a long-standing relationship.
Yeah, the association is I said those two names together, so now they're associated, right?
Campaign advisor. Apparently he didn't give you good advice, but you obviously have a long-standing relationship. He also was forced to resign in disgrace because of his association with Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, but I've never talked to these people about.
I understand, but
Jeffrey
you understand, you were the Secretary of State, you were the First Lady, and you were a United States Senator, and you have all of this power and influence and these connections. And when there's just this enormous amount of smoke that I'm going to go over.
There is no smoke. What are you talking about? Hey, me and my friend were watching your Fuentes video. Had to stop because of the BS he's spewing. Good stuff from you, though. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's awesome. You're like, he's literally just making shit up right now. This is fucking wild. This is absolutely fucking wild.
It is appropriate for us to then ask you questions because we're trying to get to the bottom of this to make sure it doesn't happen again and to hold people accountable. It might not be you.
But all of the people you just read, it seems to me, should have been ahead of me being subpoenaed than me. But that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good fucking point. God, she is on it today. Why the fuck is she here? I don't understand. I am so fucking lost right now.
Hey, I'm here, and I want to keep plowing
Do you know George
forward.
Mitchell?
I, of course, knew George Mitchell.
Okay. Obviously, he also had to resign in disgrace. So that was the purpose of the people that we were trying to get your associations with. So obviously, I'm not going to go over this too much in length, but I've been in Congress for 7 years, and I've only been to the White House, I don't know, a dozen times. Jeffrey Epstein doesn't even live in D.C., and he went to the...
Again, he donated to, like, the Washington, or the White House Historical Society, which is apparently an organization that people, like, give money to. Fucking psychopaths give money to for upkeep of the White House. Like, they want to repair something to do with the White House. They get donations from people. And the Historical Society thanks their highest donors by hosting a party at the White House on their behalf, and they invite them all or whatever. And that's why Jeffrey Epstein was there during Hillary Clinton's whatever, while she was in as First Lady or whatever. That's why he was there. She never met him. She never had anything to do with him. He wasn't brought in by Bill Clinton or whatever. It was just random organizations who used the White House for other things.
White House 17 times in 2 years. So that causes us to wonder what's going on there.
Dumbass, you can look it up. It's very straightforward information. You can just find out why he was there. The answer is for the White House Historical Society, obviously. Did you not do that very basic fucking research?
Obviously, President Clinton flew on the Lolita Express over 24 times. That gives us more questions. He is your husband, so we are just curious about all of these things, and that's the purpose of this. You say the fact that Jeffrey Epstein donated $20,000 to the joint fundraising committee.
He's very obviously nervous, right? The guy is. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting a lot. I'm going to let him keep going. But he's obviously nervous and has no idea what he's doing and no idea how to communicate this effectively. Hold on. Okay, Nerical has finally done it. Nerical has found a way to incorporate gummy bears into a picture and has created this gummy bear picture for me. Because I say, what do you have gummy bears in your ears all the time? Well, this person has gummy bears in his ears. That's pretty good. That's top tier shit. Okay, let's continue. I really like the question gun a lot.
Say the fact that Jeffrey Epstein donated $20,000 to the joint fundraising committee, you were not allowed to solicit that, but it is record of who gave money. And so you would, if somebody gave $20,000 to my JFC, I would know eventually, and I would say thank you. You never thanked him for his contribution.
Not that I'm aware of. I didn't.
He didn't contribute to Hillary Clinton. He contributed to the White House Historical Society, to some joint committee, something or other.
First time I knew about it was when I was preparing for this testimony.
Obviously, all the members of Congress have to deal with fundraising. It's probably the worst part of the job. But generally speaking, when people give you a large amount of money,
She never got any money from Jeffrey Epstein. That's the thing. She never got money from Epstein. My fucking God. These people must have gummy bears in their ears. They must.
say thank you. So
They didn't give it to me. They gave it to the joint committee.
The JFC has disclosure requirements, and you'd be able to tell, and it was for your behalf to get you elected. So again, I mean, you're
Please let the witness finish.
It's okay.
Cutting her off.
I've told you all I know, which is that I did not know.
There's dozens of pieces of information that create a pattern, and you're here because that pattern causes us to have questions.
There's obviously no fucking pattern. It couldn't possibly be clearer that there's no fucking pattern. Jesus Christ, dude.
To understand.
What are your questions? Did I know anything about his crimes? I've told you, no, I did not. Did I know anything about her crimes? No, I did not. Was I in a position of responsibility to investigate those crimes? No, I was not.
Again, there's a pattern.
This is so fucking stupid, dude.
Gave the best line of the deposition. Patterns. Lawyers look at patterns to try to assess veracity and classify information to understand truth. And so we are here trying to seek truth, and we appreciate you being here, but it is appropriate for us to ask you questions about all these things. Jeffrey Epstein
And
used
you have been all day, and I will try to the best of my
And we're
ability
about
to
done.
keep answering them.
Trust me, your husband's going to have a much worse day tomorrow.
I don't, why did you even say that? Like, she didn't say she was having a bad day or any of that. I don't understand why that was even said. Are they trying to make her unhappy? Like, what was the point of any of this?
The Clinton Global Initiative was used in the plea. Jeffrey Epstein's lawyers used Epstein's role in facilitating the Clinton Global Initiative to justify his plea deal. That was entered into evidence earlier.
Wait, they did what? I'm sorry, one more time?
Epstein's role in Epstein's lawyers used Epstein's role in facilitating the Clinton Global Initiative to justify his plea deal.
Is that true? Let me look that up. Starting to by hang on, let's find out what we can here. Epstein's own lawyer, Gerald Lefcourt, wrote a letter to prosecutors touting Epstein's credentials as part of the original group that conceived of the Clinton Global Initiative, essentially name-dropping Clinton, to make Epstein look like a legitimate philanthropist, not a predator. Left court confirmed he wouldn't have made the representation if he didn't believe it was true. So his defense team invoked CGI. However, the implication that Clinton somehow intervened to engineer the deal, that's ridiculous. The person who actually gave Epstein the deal was U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta, Trump's future labor secretary, who signed off on a deal allowing Epstein to avoid federal prosecution entirely, pleading guilty to a state charge and serving just 18 months. Involved. Let me just hang on. Let's see. He was involved in the early orbit around CGI. So it sounds like when you start a nonprofit, I'll tell you how it works. You get a bunch of big donors, financiers, philanthropists to get involved and drop tens of thousands of dollars because they believe in the cause or whatever. And then you use that to advertise to get little donations, regular donors or whatever. And in this case, it looks like Epstein was one of the people who was involved in... It looks like Epstein was one of those like big philanthropist donors who was involved in a bunch of stuff. And he was one of the people in the orbit who was like trying to be involved. But I don't think he actually even donated anything. Clinton Foundation's position is that Epstein wasn't a founder. According to one of his lawyers, Epstein was part of the original group that conceived it. But it came from his defense lawyers, so that's just not true. I'm just looking here. No, he didn't even donate anything as far as we can tell. Like, Epstein didn't even donate anything. So, this is just made up. The whole thing is made up.
That was entered into evidence earlier. Obviously, Ghislaine Maxwell has alleged that this is part of her, one of her successes to facilitate setting it up, and there's been reports that $1 million was wired for the launch party.
That's not exactly true, no.
So there's just all of this data, all of these different pieces of information that come together that cause us to be here. And so...
Problem is that all this data is fake. Like, none of this is real. 90% of what he's saying is completely made up.
I mean, we've obviously discussed the fact that Ghislaine Maxwell was at your daughter's wedding, which, again, is not indicative of anything. But when you take all of this and you put it together and you look at it holistically, it causes us to have these questions. So given...
Then why aren't you asking them of Ghislaine Maxwell? She's around. Why aren't you asking these questions of any of the other fucking people? Why Hillary fucking Clinton?
All of that information that I just went over, that we've gone over today, do you understand why you're here? And do you think it's appropriate for us to ask questions of someone that's in such a position of authority and has all of this smoke? I mean, maybe there's no fire with you, but in order for us to get to the bottom of it, the American people want this transparency and accountability. So, I mean, do you understand why we are doing this? Or do you think this is just...
You know, one of the hardest things, I would have such a hard time with this, because I would know that I cannot make facial expressions, and I have a problem with that, dude. It is so hard for me to not, like, look at somebody like, you fucking idiot. Are you serious with this? She's just stone-faced over here. I could not do it. I just couldn't.
A waste of time.
You'll have to determine whether it is or it isn't a waste of time, but... You know, you make all of these assumptions. I don't believe anything Jeffrey Epstein says. So whatever he said, I would discount completely. I don't believe very much of what Ghislaine Maxwell said, and the very first exhibit you gave me was what she told, you know, Blanche Todd. So it's...
Todd Blanche, not Blanche Todd. This is a Tim Apple moment.
It's your job to figure out what is and isn't true, but more importantly, what's relevant to your investigation. And
what's relevant to our investigation is that people at the highest levels of government were involved in a sex trafficking
I was
ring.
not involved
Again,
at all, and I
you're here to
resent
answer-
you even connecting those
You're here to help
two
us get to the
points.
bottom of it.
I've been doing my very best.
Well, you
all
tried to
day.
avoid it for
Please
6
let
months.
her answer fully the
No, I
question.
mean,
and then
I've
you
been
can
doing all I can. How can I answer questions about a person that I don't believe I ever even met, although maybe I was in the same room once, who gave money to a joint funding committee that I did not have knowledge of? I'm doing the best I can to answer your questions.
I appreciate that. Again, patterns is what we're following, and I think we're going to have a lot more questions for the president tomorrow. Thank you.
Great. Like, again, why the fuck are you asking her these questions?
Except Representative McGuire from Virginia.
How much stuff?
Mr. Chairman.
Can I just have a time check so I know where we are?
We have approximately 15 minutes left.
Madam Secretary, thank you for being here today. You know, I think the American people, I represent Virginia's 5th District, the Commonwealth of Virginia, and the whole United States. We all want transparent accountability, and I would imagine you want the same thing. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Human trafficking, rape, torture, these things are unspeakable evil. Would you agree with that?
I would.
You know, I was a Navy SEAL veteran during the time your husband was in the presidency, and we did a lot of missions to go against the cartels and go after human traffickers and people who did all these unspeakable things. Question for you, have you read the released Epstein files?
I mean, there are literally 3.5 million documents, so I would guess no. I certainly haven't. I don't think any single person could possibly read all of them.
I've read excerpts as they've come to my attention.
Would you agree that there are unspeakable acts of violence against women, minors, and other people in there?
I'm told there are.
And just curious what your knowledge is, how many files, how many Epstein file documents were released during the 4 years of the Biden administration?
I don't have any information about that.
Didn't somebody already fucking ask that question? Why are they asking her this again? It's completely irrelevant. We're talking about Donald Trump and why he is not releasing all of them. And we're talking about what's in the files. I mean, isn't this joint committee or whatever here to determine what happened in the first place? Why are you talking about Biden?
So what I'm being told is 0. And just how many files do you think have been released, Epstein files, since President Trump is in his second term?
Many, I've been told.
I've been told over 3 million.
Yeah, except they were supposed to release 6 million. And they're breaking the law right now, ignoring the courts by not releasing the other 3.5 million or whatever.
And again, we both agree that we want transparency and accountability. I don't think it's a Democrat, Republican, or independent thing. I think it's just an American thing. We want accountability, and we need to have it.
Is there a fucking question in here?
So would you agree that no one is above the law?
I certainly would.
Yeah. So since taking office, President Trump has done a lot to fight human trafficking. His admin secured the border. And just
Is there a fucking question in here?
a matter of weeks. And human trafficking numbers and the rape and all these unspeakable acts still exist in the world and even in our country, but they've gone down significantly. And of course, we've been going after the cartels and human traffickers
This is a lie, by the way. They're not going down significantly.
extremely aggressively ever since he took office in his second term. Congress and President Trump, we signed into law on January 2nd the Trafficking Survivors Relief Act. Have you heard about this?
Mm-hmm.
So we're definitely making progress. So I heard you earlier say that we weren't doing anything.
No, she didn't say that. Earlier, if you're watching a different part, she said Donald Trump has canceled a bunch of work that human trafficking organizations, all right, let me rephrase, Donald Trump is canceling a bunch of work that anti-trafficking organizations have been working on for like ever. He canceled a bunch of that work. Why? Because he doesn't give a fuck. You know, he actually pulled FBI and ICE agents off of the jobs that they were doing to combat human trafficking and child sexual abuse. He pulled them off of that work to have them act like an armed wing of the brown shirts in the streets in the case of ICE, and to have the FBI remove him from the Epstein files in the FBI's case. They actually assigned 500 to 1,000 agents to the Epstein files to remove Donald Trump's name from them. Seriously.
Talking about the State Department. Mm-hmm.
Well, we work together, but I'm with you. Also, it's just twice I heard you say that you didn't know about the donation from Maxwell. And according to FEC and our research, you can, as a candidate, even back in the 90s, coordinate with a JFC, joint.
You can coordinate with a joint whatever? Okay. Who fucking cares? Great. You can do something. I can light my house on fire tomorrow, but I'm not going to. I can do whatever the fuck I want. What is wrong with these people? They are literally, like, actually legitimately helping a pedophile avoid accountability. And that's what these people will be remembered for.
Excuse me, could you correct your statement? You said that she didn't know about Maxwell. Do you mean?
No, I'm just saying she said that twice she couldn't.
You're talking about Epstein.
No, right, that's right. Twice she said you couldn't communicate with the JFC.
Well, that's what I was told. Maybe
and according to FEC and the report that we did in the last couple hours, you could do that. Not a big deal, just letting you know that.
Why is that valuable information? Why would you just let anybody know that? That means absolutely fucking nothing to anybody.
All right, some questions. Madam Secretary, since you claim you never met or communicated with Mr. Epstein, how is that possible, seeing that Mr. Epstein visited the White House several times? I may be repeating.
She literally already answered this like 16 times. He was there for the White House Historical Society. Literally no other reason. Like, what the fuck do they want here? I don't understand.
Some of the other questions. Several times during your husband's presidency.
I object because that's speculative, Congressman. I'm not advising her not to answer, but it's speculating. She doesn't know.
I don't know.
It's okay.
I don't know how many times he visited. I've been told, but I don't know for my own information or personal experience.
Yeah, apparently he was there 17 times, but at least there's more than a dozen. All right, Secretary Clinton, did you ever ask Ms. Maxwell about the validity of the Epstein crimes when he was first accused?
I don't recall any conversation with her about that.
And how well did you know her?
Not very well.
All right, Secretary Clinton, how do you feel about your husband being named in the Epstein files?
Well,
he was named as somebody who who knew Jeffrey Epstein, who financed a trip to Asia and Europe. I don't believe Bill Clinton was involved with Epstein, honestly, really. Like, after looking into it, I genuinely do not think that Bill Clinton is guilty here. If he was, lock him up and throw away the key. I just don't think he was. I think that this is a Republican Trumpy attempt to deflect from his own crimes. Bill Clinton knew the guy loosely. He was like a financier who contributed to all kinds of political stuff and people. That does not mean that he was like involved in his evil shit that he was involved in. I don't think Clinton was involved.
I think it's something that is unfortunate, and I'm sure that he will tell you that he wished he had not flown on Epstein's plane. So that's it's unfortunate in my opinion.
Secretary Clinton, did Miss Maxwell's nephew, Mr. Alexander Gerazi, I may be saying that wrong, work for your 2008 campaign?
As I said earlier, he volunteered for my campaign. He did a good job. My campaign staff hired him. He was an excellent employee, and then he had a very relevant educational background and went to work in the State Department.
And Secretary Clinton was Miss Maxwell nephew, Mr. Alexander Gerasi, hired by the State Department shortly after you became Secretary of State.
Yes, he was.
And Secretary Clinton, by all accounts at this time of his hiring, Mr. Alexander Gerasi had limited foreign policy experience. Was he hired as a favor for Mrs. Maxwell?
Not at all. I had no idea that he was related to her, and I have absolutely no recollection or reason to believe that she was at all.
I actually know the children of a lot of very famous people, and you do too, but you don't know that because they don't like to publicize it. I mean, YouTubers and stuff that you watch are the children of very, very famous people, but they want to make it on their own, these people. I'm not even going to tell you who it is. They want to be their own person, so they don't tell people who they're connected to. And I totally get that. Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Involved.
Well, the people that I represent, and I think our country cares about most out of this whole thing, is that what can we learn so we can prevent people committing human trafficking in our country and the world. I think that's what we all care about. We care about that.
Obviously, he cares about political wins and not much more than that.
And then how did someone with such egregious behavior penetrate the highest level of government? Are world leaders compromised? Are American politicians compromised? As you read the Epstein files and read the reports, overwhelmingly, Epstein donated more to Democrats by far than he did Republicans.
Okay, but he donated to Republicans, right? As well? The answer is yes, he did. He donated to both sides. The problem is not a Democrat-Republican thing. It's an elite problem. It's an oligarch problem. These very, very rich people are taking advantage of children.
Are you served as Secretary of State from 2009 to 2013? Is that correct?
That's correct.
The State Department leads the United States' efforts to globally combat human and sex trafficking. Is that a fair characterization?
It is the responsibility of the State Department to try to hold countries accountable through our annual report and to work with countries to try to encourage them to improve their laws and their enforcement.
In fact, Secretary of State is responsible for submitting an annual trafficking in persons or TIP report. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And Secretary Clinton, can you please explain what this report is? What is the purpose of the report? What was your role in the creation of this report? And did you have a final approval of the contents of this report, the TIP report?
This report, I believe it's legislatively mandated, is put together by the experts in the State Department and people who are responsible for following developments in trafficking through our embassies around the world. And what it does is to try to assess whether countries are taking trafficking seriously, whether they have adequate laws, whether they're enforcing those laws, whether judges are trained, whether law enforcement takes the crimes seriously. And then every year, the office responsible for the TIP report evaluates and describes what a country was doing. And in egregious cases where countries are ignoring it, where the problem is getting worse, there can be sanctions employed. But usually the effort to stay out of the report in a negative way helps us diplomatically to persuade countries to take more action.
Okay, so to be clear, were TIP reports submitted to Congress during your tenure?
Yes.
And was human trafficking in the United States increasing or decreasing during that time?
In the United States, I'm not as familiar with the year-to-year numbers, but human trafficking has been a very big problem in the United States and elsewhere. And as you pointed out, all kinds of criminal organizations, gangs, cartels find it profitable to traffic human beings. So it kind of goes up and down depending upon how effectively We're enforcing our laws, or other nations are enforcing theirs.
So during the Biden administration, open border policies, we don't know the number. We think 15 to 20 million.
That's fucking absurd to say 15 to 20 million. Are you kidding me?
Illegal criminal aliens, the cartels. You probably saw.
That is insane, dude. There are only 80 million immigrants total, I believe, like in the United States. Only 80 million total, and you're saying 20 million came over the border under Biden. Are you fucking kidding me right now? And they were all criminal, like dangerous to society or whatever the fuck. Like, give me a fucking break, dude.
In Colorado, where Tren de Agua took over an apartment complex at gunpoint.
That did not happen, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Hang on. Let me just look this up. No need to wonder. Just loaded up our question gun. Let's go answer hunting. Let me find out what's going on here. Okay, 3 apartment complexes in Aurora, Colorado, operated by CBZ Management, became associated with Tren de Aragua activity. Aurora police identified around 10 confirmed Tren de Aragua members in the area, with arrests for robberies, assaults, shootings, and domestic violence incidents. A video went viral in August 2024 showing armed men entering an apartment at the Edge at Lowry Complex shortly before a fatal shooting outside. The complex eventually had to be shut down by the city. Aurora's own police chief said gang members had not taken over the complex. He emphasized the main problem was a lack of management and oversight by the property owners, CBZ Management. The landlord, CBZ, actually blamed the gang takeover narrative partly to deflect from their own years of documented mismanagement, rodent infestations, sewage backups, no maintenance that predated the gang activity by years. And then Trump repeatedly claimed Aurora had been taken over by Venezuelan gangs, even after local Republican officials and Aurora law enforcement pushed back, saying it was vastly exaggerated. Trump later invoked the Aurora story as partial justification for military action against Venezuela. So, real gang activity at a badly mismanaged apartment complex, 10 confirmed members, real crimes, including a kidnapping, but not a takeover of a city or even a building. Just nonsense.
And one guy called the police. They cut his fingers off and said, if you call the police again,
I don't think that's true.
we're going to cut off your hands. So would you agree that having a secure border is very important to prevent these cartels and these human traffickers from coming into our country?
This is made up. This did not happen.
And victimizing the American people?
I have been in favor of secure borders and effective, humane immigration policy for as long as I've thought about it. And
yeah, her border policy was not good. I did not like her border policy. She is more in line with this dude than she is with me, honestly. So I don't know why he obviously didn't do any research at all for this.
when I ran for the Senate, when I ran for president, I advocated for security at our borders, but also additional resources so that we could process the people who came to our borders in a more efficient and timely way. I voted for comprehensive immigration reform on a bipartisan basis when I was in the Senate. So yes, I absolutely agree that we need secure borders.
Yeah, so what are the tools, because we want to get to the bottom of whatever, this unspeakable evil, whoever's at fault, we need to stop it from happening again.
This is just nonsense.
So I'm just wondering, what other tools does the State Department have to foster international cooperation and address international sex trafficking? How can we utilize these tools? Now, obviously, we've been very effective in the first year.
I'm sorry. You're supposed to be answering that question for her. You're supposed to be telling us that. Why the fuck are you asking her? She's not in government. You are. I don't understand. I'm so fucking lost.
Of President Trump's second term. But going back into what you learned when you were there, what could we do?
I think, the efforts that we attempted to deploy in terms of sanctions, in terms of pressure, coercive diplomacy to try to make countries, either have the laws or comply with the laws were the tools that we use diplomatically. Law enforcement uses other tools. We are not a law enforcement agency in the State Department, but we did our part to try to work jointly with law enforcement, not only the Department of Justice, but law enforcement in other countries. And I think that that's why it was, hard to understand why one of the decisions made in the State Department was to, gut that office, because I do think it plays a role. I mean, it's not the, law enforcement role, but it is an important informational, educational, diplomatic effort that can pay off. And now we don't have the resources that we need there, in my opinion.
Do you think that world leaders or maybe American politicians are compromised with people in the Epstein network to allow them to have this evil go on in our country? New Mexico, Epstein's.
Like, she said this before, and I'm going to repeat it. Epstein was not the worst human trafficker out there, or by any stretch of the imagination, the only one. This is still going on. You think that these elite pedophiles just stopped raping children? Obviously not. I think the reason she was voted in is people would rather Republicans than a woman as president. Yeah, 100%. I think the first woman president would have to be Republican. Maybe. I don't think we're going to see one anytime soon. That's for sure.
Island and all that.
I have no information about any of that.
If I take you at your word, or we take you at your word, you let Epstein and his close associates, close to your family, close to the Clinton Foundation, do you feel like you made a mistake?
I never met him, so I have no way of, judging. I never met him, and I wish he'd been stopped in 2008 instead of given a slap on the wrist like he was.
By Donald Trump's Secretary of Labor, Alex Costa. Yes.
Was.
Thank you.
And with that, we will end this majority's hour now. Got the record.
No, anyway, that was absolutely fucking wild. Tell me what you think about it in the comments. Jesus Christ, these people are idiots. Boebert is up next, I believe. No, I'm sorry, not Boebert. Minority Questions. This is Hillary Clinton. She's in a deposition on Jeffrey Epstein. No idea why she's even here. She had nothing to do with him. Never even met the guy. But let's give this a listen. This is Minority Questions.
About things you discussed in the previous round. Sorry. Ma'am, I have just a few questions about things you discussed in the previous round. Then I'll turn it over to a member of the committee. There were a few cases of mistaken identity, I think, in the previous hour. So, for one, we understand that Bob Torricelli was the DSCC chairman when you ran for Senate, not Bob Kerry. I think you got that one right, and we just wanted to confirm that.
Yes.
Yeah, so this guy earlier, if you didn't see it, drew a bunch of, lines from Hillary Clinton to all of these Epstein perpetrators, and he was wrong. He didn't even name the correct people. She didn't know literally any of them, and the guy kept grailing her there's a lot of smoke here. You know a lot of people, a lot of smoke. It was absurd. These people are absurd human beings who are protecting pedophiles. That will be their legacy forever. I hope they're happy with that.
In addition, John Scully is a businessman who at one point was the CEO of Apple. Steve Scully is some kind of IT person in the Virgin Islands. Am I correct to say that you do not know Steve Scully, the IT guy in the Virgin Islands?
That's so funny. That's another thing they got wrong. That is absurd.
That's correct.
Great. You were asked several times, and I just want to get it clean here in one place, whether your husband visited Mr. Epstein's island in the U.S. Virgin Islands.
The answer is no. He was never on Epstein Island. Bill Clinton wasn't.
Firstly, to be clear, you yourself did not visit Mr. Epstein's island. Is that right?
That is right.
And am I right that it's your understanding that your husband also did not visit Mr. Epstein's island?
That is my understanding, and I think there is significant evidence to back that up, including that the Secret Service actually went on the record to say they had never been on the island and that my husband had never signed off Secret Service protection.
You took my next question, which was to clarify that as far as...
Let's clarify it again. Maybe they'll hear it
We'll
this time.
double clarify it, that as far as you know, your husband did not separate himself from his Secret Service detail in order to fly on Mr. Epstein's plane.
As far as I know, he has never signed off on Secret Service protection.
One last one for me. Former Attorney General Alberto Gonzales was Attorney General at the time that Mr. Epstein received his sweetheart deal. As far as you know, was former Attorney General Gonzales required to physically come in for his deposition as you are today?
As far as I know, former Attorney General Gonzales was not required to come in. He gave a statement, a very short statement, saying he didn't know anything and was excused from appearing. But I think it would be useful for the committee to probe the information that was available between Alex Acosta and the Department of Justice.
Yeah, why aren't they bringing in Alex Acosta, who actually gave him that deal? That he got out of federal prison for the rest of his fucking life, even though he raped children. Like, why didn't they bring in Alex Acosta? And why was Alex Acosta rewarded by Donald Trump with the Secretary of Labor position?
During that period of time when Jeffrey Epstein was charged with crimes.
Lastly, I will just read the names of some other individuals who were subpoenaed by this committee in connection with this investigation, and I'll just ask you if it's your understanding that those individuals were required to physically come in for a deposition. Former Attorney General Jeff Sessions.
It is my understanding he was not required.
Former FBI Director Robert Mueller.
He was not required.
Former Attorney General Loretta Lynch.
She was not required.
How about former Attorney General Eric Holder?
He was not required.
And former Attorney General Merrick Garland?
He was not required.
And former FBI Director James Comey?
He was not required.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary, good
Hello,
afternoon.
Congressman.
Thank you for your patience today. As we've discussed today, you served in a variety of official roles from 1993 to 2013, First Lady, Senator from New York, Secretary of State. During your time in any of these positions, did you have responsibility for the investigation or the prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein?
I did not.
During your time in these positions, were you ever involved in any investigation or prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein?
I was not.
Which agency, just given your experience and knowledge, what are some of the agencies or agencies that would have been involved or were involved in those kind of investigation and prosecutions?
I don't know personally, but just looking at the responsibilities of various agencies, it would be local, state, and federal law enforcement, and at the federal level, obviously the Department of Justice. It might well have been Border Control and other FAA or TSA.
Dude, she's almost 80 years old now. That's crazy, right?
Other agencies that had anything to do with transportation.
But in your experience, not first ladies, senators, or secretaries of state?
In my experience, none of the above.
In any of your roles, did you ever seek to influence the government's, any level of government's activities, investigations, prosecutions related to Jeffrey Epstein?
I did not.
Similarly, during your tenure in these positions, did you have responsibility for the investigation or prosecution of Ghislaine Maxwell?
I did not.
Were you involved in the investigation or prosecution of Ghislaine Maxwell?
I was not.
Thank you. During your tenure, did you ever seek to influence any level of government investigation or prosecution of Ghislaine Maxwell?
I did not.
Okay. One of the things that was discussed earlier was the conversation between Ghislaine Maxwell and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, after which Ghislaine Maxwell was transferred to a lower security, more comfortable prison situation. Are you familiar with that sequence of events?
I have read about that, yes.
And when this committee deposed Ghislaine Maxwell, her attorney requested a pardon on her behalf, or rather stated that if she were pardoned, she would be at liberty to share more information with this committee and others. Are you familiar with that? Have you read about that?
I read about that.
And the media has asked President Trump if he's considering a pardon
excuse me,
of Ghislaine Maxwell, and he, to date, has not ruled out a pardon or clemency for Ghislaine Maxwell. And because we've talked with you today about your role as Secretary of State in trying to ensure that there are stronger policies, laws, protections to prevent sex trafficking, child trafficking, human trafficking, I just want to ask you, from your perspective, what signal would it send to those in the United States or around the world who might want to engage in those crimes if somebody convicted of those crimes were pardoned by the President of the United States?
I think it would send absolutely the wrong signal.
In your experience, I'll ask again, do first ladies or secretaries of state or senators oversee or involved in specific sex trafficking investigations?
No, as I said earlier, Congressman, the Secretary of State has a responsibility to try to use diplomatic authority, the power of sanctions, to convince other countries to improve their laws and enforce them.
In your opinion, and you've maybe touched on some of this, who should this committee be speaking to if we wanted more information on specific federal sex trafficking investigations, previous, current, future?
I think the Department of Justice, which is the primary law enforcement agency of our government, and perhaps some of the individual U.S. attorneys and attorneys general that might have units devoted to trying to prevent and prosecute human trafficking.
Thank you. That's all I have. And we can go off the record.
Damn, that was short. Okay. I would love to know what kinds of questions she's being asked or what she's saying or what these people are discussing off record. I'm so curious. Now back to the majority questions. Like, these are Republicans again.
All right, we'll go on the record. It is 4:17 in the afternoon. Mr. Burleson has a few questions for you.
So I'm going to begin with some lighthearted, different questions. And you're welcome to ignore them or if you want to, but while I have you here, I just have to ask. So when your husband was president, it was Lawrence Rockefeller had an effort to try to disclose UFOs, UAPs. When you were running for president, John Podesta publicly stated that you would disclose these files if given the chance, if you had been president. Are you pleased to see that these files may be disclosed finally?
I am pleased. As I say, I think they have to be carefully scrutinized so that no national security information is disclosed. But this is an issue of real importance to so many people, and I think whatever can be disclosed should be disclosed.
Was there a program that specifically that was referencing that you were aware of?
I was not. As you mentioned, John Podesta, who was one of my advisors, was deeply interested in the issue, and if I had been elected, I certainly would have listened to his advice.
Well, thank you for indulgence on that.
I would love to think that aliens are out there and visiting us and all that. I just do not believe that aliens are visiting us. I do think they're real. I think you'd have to be I think you'd have to be a Christian nationalist to think aliens are not real. But I don't think that they're visiting us. I just don't. Sad to say.
As you know, Alexander Acosta, who gave Epstein the 2009 plea deal, he said, whenever he was asked, that he belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone. Were you, and I think you've answered this before, but if you could answer more directly, were you or anyone in the Obama administration, through your role in the State Department, or even afterwards in the Clinton Foundation, ever briefed on Epstein having any U.S. intelligence ties?
I was not.
Were you ever briefed of him having any foreign intelligence ties?
I was not.
Okay. Epstein filed a FOIA request in 2011 seeking any CIA records about himself. That would have been during your time as Secretary of State. Through your role, were you made aware of that FOIA request?
I was not.
Okay.
Was it ever responded to?
That's a good question.
I know nothing about it.
They haven't responded to us on our FOIA requests. So. In 2014, Epstein met with William Burns, who was then a senior State Department official and later a CIA director.
Excuse me, could you say what year that was again?
In 2014.
In 2014, he met with William Burns?
Mm-hmm. Epstein met with William Burns. As the Secretary of State at that time, were you aware of that meeting?
I wasn't Secretary of State in 2014.
Okay. Were you aware of the meeting with Mr. Burns? Okay. And finally, Ghislaine Maxwell's father was Robert Maxwell, who was widely reported as being Mossad or MI6 intelligence asset.
I don't think he was Mossad or MI6. I think he was an actual intelligence officer, if I'm not mistaken.
Did in any of your conversations with Maxwell or people connected to her, did they ever mention Robert Maxwell's intelligence background or any ongoing foreign or domestic intelligence connections through your conversations or interactions?
I have never talked to anybody about whether that is true or not. I don't know.
Were you aware that when Maxwell attended your wedding, she was skipping a court-ordered deposition in the Epstein victim's civil lawsuit?
Excuse me, do you mean her wedding or do you mean her daughter's wedding?
Your daughter's wedding, I'm sorry. When she attended your daughter's wedding, were you aware that she was skipping a court-ordered?
I had no.
What does that have to do with Hillary Clinton or what? Like, I don't understand. Why is he even asking her this?
Idea. I don't know anything about that.
Is this the first time you're hearing that?
It is the first time I'm hearing that.
But at the time, she was going through that investigation.
Okay.
I knew nothing about it at the time, and so I can't respond.
Okay. Later, Chelsea vacationed with Maxwell in 2009 and reportedly remained...
That was before the wedding.
Before that, she vacationed in 2009, was reportedly friendly with her. Are you aware, what was the nature of that relationship?
I think you've described it. It was a friendly relationship.
Is it safe to say that she was closer to Ghislaine Maxwell than you were?
I had very little contact with Ghislaine Maxwell, so I can't speak to anybody else's relationship, only my own.
But it's safe to say that she was closer.
I'm not going to characterize it because I don't know.
Okay. Chelsea was also in attendance at the wedding in Morocco in 2002.
The wedding in Morocco? What wedding?
It's also been documented that Epstein was there as well as Maxwell. At that time, she would have been 21, maybe 22 years old. Do you have any concerns, or have you asked your daughter about any maybe potential inappropriate
all
activity?
these questions about concerns that predate the charges and pleas of Epstein are very hard to answer because people did not know
at the time.
Yeah. And all the questions about the contribution to the Joint Committee, people didn't know. I mean, right. And so in retrospect, nobody would have had any contact with someone like that. And those people who continued to have contact with him after he pled guilty are in a different group because that happened, and they still maintain contact with him.
I think we're all experiencing that, where we're having a revelation of what we didn't know at the time. But in reflecting back, certainly it's appropriate to ask questions. And so my question is...
He's asking if she wonders if Chelsea Clinton was trafficked by Epstein. And the answer is, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you ask that question? Why does it matter? Why is it any of your business? And how does this benefit the investigation in any way, shape, or form? That's pretty much the answer, I think.
Knowing what happened at that time, have you had a conversation with her? Was there any inappropriate activity during that time?
You know, at the time, nothing was known and nothing untoward occurred. And then there was no further contact with him. So I can't really speculate about that further.
You know, we can all agree, I think, that Jeffrey Epstein was a monster, that he was empowered or enabled by Ghislaine Maxwell. I think we can all agree with that, correct?
I can't characterize their relationship. I think you can agree that he committed crimes. He was not fully held accountable for them, which could have stopped his predatory practices, perhaps, that continued for quite some time afterwards. And then he was finally indicted for serious crimes, and he was in prison, and then he mysteriously died. And with
mysteriously, that's an interesting characterization.
With her, she was, you know, finally indicted, tried, and convicted. And I think you have to look at it in the chronological way in which it unfolded.
Yeah, I think that there's varying degrees of culpability. She was certainly going beyond just being silent in her knowledge about the horrible acts that he was doing, but she was actually enabling him.
That's what she was.
She was taking part in, not just enabling. She was participating by grooming the children and getting naked around them and stuff like that. It wasn't just enabling.
That's right. But if she had not been enabling, if she had not been taking those steps, if she had just been silent.
Are you asking me to speculate?
I'm asking, would you agree that she would be culpable as well? Just in her silence.
I have no information about that, so I'm not going to speculate.
Okay. All right. With that, I'm done. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that one wasn't so bad. He didn't seem like a complete fucking moron, so there's that.
Next is Representative.
This is sort of like off subject, but didn't you all require in the latest defense authorization that the UFO information has to be? What?
They ripped it out. They killed it.
Oh, I thought that had gone through.
That was my amendment, and it got ripped out.
Oh, okay. Well, you've just, I didn't know that, so thank you for enlightening me. Okay.
Yeah, they've been killing it.
I didn't know that.
Next up's Representative.
I wish that they would declassify UFO stuff. I don't believe that there's anything there, honestly. I think that I don't think there are aliens around. I just don't. And I'm disappointed by that just as much as you are, but yeah.
Representative Perry from Pennsylvania.
Good afternoon, Madam Secretary.
Good
You
afternoon.
live in a particularly beautiful part of the country.
Thank you.
Good for you.
It's very pretty up here.
Madam Secretary, once it was revealed publicly that you and President Clinton were connected, I'm going to use that term, to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, did you discuss the subject with your daughter?
I'm, not going to, talk about what I did or didn't discuss with family members, but I can tell you that it was something that was of grave concern to us.
I imagine it was, and I know that you're, look, I think we could probably get a long way here if we could discuss or have a view into your discussion with your husband. I suspect you're going to object to that.
You're right, Congressman. Thank you for
but it seems like these are reasonable questions. Did your daughter discuss it with you?
Well, we were horrified by what was later.
Horrified in what way? We were all horrified of what we learned about Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, the victims.
Right.
But
Right.
Did you discuss with your daughter, when you say you were horrified, the connection with her father and this Epstein episode?
My husband.
The connection with her father isn't really there. They're just trying to set him up and make it seem like he was involved with Epstein when he really, I believe, was not. There's no evidence that Bill Clinton was guilty of, any of the crimes that Epstein partook in. There's no evidence that he even knew Epstein beyond just, him being a financier and contributing to, his trips to Asia and Africa. That's about the extent of it.
Connection with Jeffrey Epstein began and ended before he was charged with any crime.
I get that, but
And so in retrospect, we all say, oh my gosh, that was horrific. And why didn't more people know? And why didn't more people speak out at the time? But I think the chronology is critically important. If we were talking about post-crime, that there was a continuing connection with him, that would be unacceptable.
Right.
But it ended before he was charged.
I understand that, which is why I particularly said once it was revealed publicly. I get that continuing to be involved with someone like that after it was knowledgeable to everyone would be almost an unforgivable sin. However, I'm married too, not as long as you, ma'am, but there would be questions in my family, even if it went back. Before we were married, there would be questions, and so.
I don't interrupt you, but I don't understand the question.
So my question is, did your daughter discuss it with you? That was my particular question.
I think I can't recollect any specific conversation, but of course we discussed the horrific crimes that he was accused of.
But nothing about her father's connection to it.
Her father's connection began and ended.
Okay.
Before he was charged with crimes.
Did your daughter ever mention to you that she discussed this matter with her father?
I don't recollect that.
Did you see the photos of your husband with young girls related to Jeffrey Epstein?
This is all nonsensical garbage. There were no... He's implying that Bill Clinton was took advantage of children. There's no evidence of that.
Saw the few photos that my lawyers showed me.
Did you also see the photos of your husband with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell?
I have seen such photos.
Basically, Epstein didn't just use these girls sexually. He used them as flight attendants on his planes and stuff. And when Bill Clinton took his flights to Africa and Asia on AIDS missions and stuff, Epstein's victims were on the plane as the flight attendant. That's what happened.
They're out there, right?
Yes.
I imagine you're familiar, but I just want to make sure. Since seeing these photos, have any questions about the content, locations, general circumstances come to your mind?
No, that it was unfortunate that he ever, did anything with Jeffrey Epstein.
But there was no curiosity.
Excuse me, are you asking for an opinion, or is there a fact that she can share with you that would be helpful?
Well, I did say, were there any questions? So if I saw, I'll give you an example. If I saw a picture with my wife, it's just really hard to be relevant. If my wife saw pictures with me as a grown man, hanging out with obviously or close to underage women, regardless if it was before we were married or not.
Again, they were the flight attendants on the plane. There's no evidence Bill Clinton did anything questionable. Nobody has accused him of that or anything.
It would be a question. And so what I'm asking you is, did any questions regarding those photographs come to your mind?
I am going to, just as clearly as I can state, say I don't see the relevance of your question, and I am not going to talk about conversations that I had with my family, especially my husband.
And for clarity, are you all asserting spousal privilege
For clarity, we were looking for the relevance of her conversations with her husband and what she might have thought about her conversations with the husband. How does that help further the legislative purpose of this committee as they investigate the prosecution and investigations of Jeffrey Epstein?
I think Mr. Perry's questions directly relate
To her daughter?
To what?
To her
My state
husband?
of mind?
Her state of mind?
What possible relevance does my state of mind have to your investigation?
I believe Mr. Perry's questions, and Mr. Perry can step in if he would like, are directly related to her relationships
With her husband?
with Mr. Epstein and Miss Maxwell, and her opinions as it relates to
She's
her
here to give
husband's
facts, not
relationships.
opinions.
I am not here to give opinions. I'm here to answer factual questions, and I have answered
Okay.
for many hours now that I had no relationship because I never met the guy to my best recollection.
And I'm not
with Jeffrey
implying,
Epstein.
and you shouldn't aver that I've made that connection. I'm not implying that.
Well, yeah, okay.
You're still married, Madam Secretary, still
That's
married,
very
correct?
true.
Okay. Can you identify the man in these photos?
I can't see them across the table.
Let me get him a little closer.
So, just for the record, you would like her to identify pictures of her spouse? You need her here to testify on pictures of her spouse?
The 42nd President of the United States of America? That is my husband.
Okay,
Yes.
how about the location?
I have no knowledge of the location. I have no context for the location. I know nothing about the location.
If you were informed that that's on Mr. Epstein's plane that
Would you like her to speculate based on your
No,
informant of that?
ma'am, if you'd let me ask the question. If you were informed that was on Mr. Epstein's plane that is known to
Like-
have frequented not only the
Everybody knows Bill Clinton went on a philanthropic trip to Asia and Africa on Jeffrey Epstein's plane because Jeffrey Epstein was a famous financier, a famous philanthropist who famously gave a shitload of money to very famous people to do these trips. Chris Tucker went with him. Everybody knows that. There's no surprise here. I don't understand what you're even asking or why.
island, but other locations where sexual abuse, horrific sexual abuse occurred. Would you have any questions about those photos and who's in them?
Objection, calls for speculation, states facts not in evidence. You can, I'm not instructing you not to answer.
Well, no, I'm not going to speculate. I'm
Okay.
not going to.
Do you know the names of any of the young girls in those photos with
Whose
your
faces
husband?
are blacked out, Congressman, correct?
I understand that. But the photos are out there.
But are you saying she should be able to know who individuals
No, I think
are
what
that
I'm
they're-
saying is
that the
that
photos are blacked
what
out?
I'm saying is that in a normal relationship, you would probably ask the person that you're sleeping with who that person in the
Wait, did we establish you're sleeping with each other? I don't it's so weird. The whole fucking thing is so nonsensical and weird and confusing, and I don't understand the point of any of it, honestly. What is the fucking point here?
photo is.
There were so many things that I would just like that to stay. I'd like that to stay on the record. Thank you.
A question to which you could give a factual answer.
Would be helpful.
Are you aware of a single misstatement of fact from any person who you know or believe to be an Epstein victim?
I have got no knowledge of all the statements of fact that
So at this point, the answer would be no.
I don't know. I have no way of
Please
knowing.
don't mischaracterize her statements.
Are you aware that your husband's name is noted multiple times in the Jeffrey?
Like, everybody knows that Bill Clinton is listed as a person in Jeffrey Epstein's emails because they spoke. What does that have to do with anything?
Epstein flight logs.
I think everyone knows that he flew on Jeffrey Epstein's plane, as did many other people, including Donald Trump.
Understood. I don't know about that last one, but did you
Are you kidding me? I don't know about that last one, he says. Okay.
ever discuss that fact with anyone or any organization that your husband's name appeared on the flight logs?
I don't recall. I mean, I've talked about it with my lawyers and others assisting in my preparation, but I can't recall specifics.
Are you aware of trips made by your husband on Jeffrey Epstein's numerous helicopters, whether piloted by Ghislaine Maxwell or anyone else?
Objection. States facts not in evidence.
I've never heard that.
Are you aware of the allegation?
No, I was not.
So I believe that this is a claim from Virginia Giuffre, who was repeating something that she misheard from Ghislaine Maxwell. And when asked, Ghislaine Maxwell corrected the misunderstanding that Bill Clinton flew on a helicopter or whatever. Nobody is actually claiming that anymore. Virginia Giuffre took back the mistaken misapprehension, and Ghislaine Maxwell corrected it in the first place. So this is just, no one is claiming this. That Bill Clinton flew on the helicopter on the island.
The allegation does exist in the record. Is that something you're curious about, Madam
I have no awareness of it.
Questions are complete. Thank you, Madam.
Next questioner is Ms. Bobert from Colorado.
Oh, this is where it gets absolutely fucking psychotic. Lauren Boebert is about to ask basically about Pizzagate, and it's insane.
Ms. Clinton, Madam Secretary, while we sit on the record today, are you under oath?
I am.
Okay. Have you ever lied while being under oath?
I have not.
Have you ever lied in a deposition?
I have not.
I mean, that's being under oath, right? Obviously.
Thank you. Have you ever transmitted any information to Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell about the United States government?
I have not.
As has been mentioned many times here today, Bill Clinton flew on Epstein's plane at least 26 times, multiple international.
No, wait, I'm sorry. Why does this number keep going up? Wasn't it 17 earlier or something?
Trips from 2002 to 2003, often with Maxwell. When and how did you first learn of these trips, and did you discuss them or review them with him prior to taking the trips?
It's a compound question. I'm going to object to the latter part of it and instruct her not to answer on the grounds of
when and how did you
marital-
learn of these first trips? Of these trips?
I don't recall how I learned about them. I knew that he was traveling on a number of different planes owned by a number of different people, and I don't recollect having conversations about the planes. We talked about the work. We talked about the meetings that he had. We talked about his...
Keep in mind, Boebert believes that that Hillary Clinton has killed people, and that Bill Clinton is the leading monster, and that he was in control of the whole sex trafficking operation and shit. She's completely out of her fucking gourd on this, and she believes in Pizzagate and the whole nine. She thinks that Epstein was a pawn in Bill Clinton's game, basically. So think about how she's framing the questions from that perspective.
Efforts to try to persuade countries to invest in low-cost AIDS drugs.
Did you discuss who you would be traveling with?
I did not. I don't have any recollection of that.
Ms. Clinton, when did you first learn that your husband was spending time extensively with a registered sex offender?
He did not after...
No, he wasn't. He never spent time with a registered sex offender. Epstein was not a registered sex offender until 2008, and Bill Clinton did not hang out with him after that.
He was convicted years after Bill stopped having any...
Were there any activities that raised any red flags to think that he could be charged of sex crimes during the time?
Are you
that
asking if
Clinton,
she has awareness?
Yes.
Of Jeffrey Epstein?
Of any red flags being brought to your awareness, to your family's awareness, while your husband was spending time with Jeffrey Epstein?
I have no recollection of anyone bringing any red flags to me.
So Have any of the victims of Epstein or Maxwell ever reached out to you in any way?
I don't recall that.
That's an interesting question. That's okay. I'll take it.
For you do not recall any reason a victim may have reached out to you or your counsel?
Excuse me, the
Question was, did
question's
you
asked and
recall
answered.
whether or not any
I asked
victim
any-
reached out to her, and she said she did not have an awareness of that.
Moving on, Ms. Clinton, are you aware of anyone ever telling your husband that they had damaging information about him that they would release?
I have no awareness of that.
Did Epstein ever ask you or Mr. Clinton for any favors of any kind?
I never talked to Jeffrey Epstein.
Did Maxwell ever ask you or Mr. Clinton for favors of any kind?
She did not ask me.
Did Epstein have any connection to or association with the Clinton Foundation?
There's been the allegation that he did, but I don't have any factual basis for knowing one way or the other.
Okay, and we have discussed today the small amounts donated historically.
And she said small amounts. That's very interesting that she said small amounts, because everyone else is characterizing it as gigantic, massive amounts of money, huge sums of money of $20,000. In reality, I'm not rich, like not even close. There are periods of time where I made $34,000 in 1 month from YouTube. That's not even close to the case anymore. But, you know, I've dropped like a lot of money on things before, like $20,000 on getting an apartment and things like that. And I've never been anywhere near a millionaire, not even close to that. $20,000 is like finding a penny on the street for these people. $20,000 is so much $20,000 is such a small amount of money to these people that they wouldn't bother bending down to pick it up off of the street if they came across it. It's nothing.
And the $20,000 to your campaign, the 1999 Senate campaign, $25,000 via affiliate.
Excuse me, could you
to
state for the record, it was not to the campaign, so if you wouldn't mind just stating
$20,000 to Hillary's 1999 Senate campaign?
No, it was a
That's
joint.
inaccurate.
It was a joint
Okay,
state campaign.
joint campaign, okay, sure.
So it wasn't Hillary Clinton's campaign, is the point.
Fun.
Okay, so we have talked about those connections. In past public statements, as in 2017 speeches and interviews, you described Pizzagate as a baseless conspiracy
Oh my God, dude.
theory, alleging you and others ran a child sex trafficking ring from a Washington pizzeria basement. Have you reviewed any 2025-2026 Epstein files that were released that you believe reference or relate to those specific 20?
Why the fuck is she bringing up Pizzagate right now? That was where QAnon got its start, was from Pizzagate. Pizzagate, QAnon did not exist during Pizzagate, but it existed afterward as a result of it. It's kind of fucking wild to me that they're bringing up Pizzagate right now at all.
2016 claims regarding the Podesta emails, Comet Ping Pong Pizza used as code possibly?
I'm sorry, does
You're
this
asking her about whether
excuse me.
she's reviewed emails in
In
the
the
Epstein
Epstein files.
files, which relate to the wacky Pizzagate
You
scandal.
could characterize it however you want. I just would like to know if she's familiar with any of them.
So
She's
excuse me,
commenting.
your question is about whether or not she has reviewed any emails in the Epstein release files about Pizzagate.
Correct.
Pizzagate was totally made up. It was an outrageous allegation that ended up hurting a number of people, that caused a deranged young man to show up with his assault rifle and shoot up a local pizzeria. I can't believe you're even referencing it. You should be.
There are connections to the language.
Well,
I'm
the
not talking
QAnon
about-
people believe there are. So
I don't know what QAnon
have at
people
it.
believe.
Have at it.
But you've accused certain parties, and I think even right now today, of promoting slow walking or information in ways that fuels conspiracies. And you're
What? She said she's accused people of slow walking information that encourages conspiracies. I didn't hear Hillary Clinton say anything of the sort. What the fuck are you talking about? Are you putting words in her mouth right now? I don't understand. What is she going on about right now? It's fucking vile that she's bringing up Pizzagate.
View, did any Epstein-Maxwell related investigations or file handling pre or post 2019 contribute to or intersect with the spread of Pizzagate style theories about Democrat figures?
Objection.
I have
Calls
no
for
way of answering. That is the
possible amount of
most
speculation.
ridiculously.
Have you or your representatives identified any Epstein file content that has been misinterpreted online to revive those claims? And what steps, if any, have you taken to clarify?
Again, object on the ground of
I think that this is all very
speculation.
reasonable.
Well, first of
Well, you're incorrect.
all, I don't follow the crazy conspiracy stories that are online. I regret that anybody does. I find it quite sad, but also disturbing that people would believe some of what is put forth, like Pizzagate. So I have taken no steps to review anything that might have any connection to something which I think is totally bogus.
John Podesta, your 2016 campaign chair.
Like, if you don't know the story here, Hillary Clinton had just like her emails that like, all right, let me rephrase. Hillary Clinton hosted her own email server, just like, you know, I have like my email address that I have or whatever. Well, she hosted her own emails. And I host emails too, but I found it's kind of a pain in the ass. So I would rather just have like Gmail hosted for me instead. But she had it on her own server. And Republicans in office at the time decided to subpoena her email server, her personal email server, just like what she uses to communicate with people. They have no right to that. They had no place to request any of that. There's no reason for any of that shit. But they requested it because why the fuck not? It's Republicans. They claimed that they wanted to see if she discussed anything classified in her personal emails. And so she deleted them. Why wouldn't she? They are her personal email addresses. I'm sorry. Why wouldn't she? They were her personal emails that she was sending to friends and family. They had no right to that shit. And then Trump said, Russia, if you're listening, I would really like to see what's in those emails. And Russia hacked not Hillary's emails, but John Podesta's through a spear phishing attack, is what it's called. Which led to Pizzagate. They found examples of him saying, do you guys want to get pizza at Comet Pizza and Ping Pong Pizzeria? And they said cheese pizza is code for child porn, basically. And Pizzagate exploded from there. And they started posting images of children at Comet Ping Pong Pizzeria or whatever. They were literally like just children that were there. Like it wasn't, they weren't being trafficked, taken advantage of, or any of that shit. They were just kids at this pizzeria. It was fucking evil, dude. Like QAnon did some evil shit to people for no fucking reason. That's the origin of Pizzagate. And then QAnon claimed Hillary Clinton. QAnon was like an account, what do you call it? Like it was a 4chan account that posted that Hillary Clinton was about to be arrested, and you just had to ask the closest National Guard member what their mission was and all this other shit. And of course, it obviously never came to fruition. None of this shit played out because it was fake all along. But QAnon believed it. They bought it. And now we have Bo Bear sitting here asking about Pizzagate. Like, what the fuck? These people are fucking insane.
Appears in some Epstein file contexts, social overlaps or mentions. Were you aware of any of the Podesta-related communications in the released files?
Can you please provide examples or the evidence that you would like us to review or the exhibits that reflect that in order for her to be able to do
get
that?
some exhibits and pause this question
Speak to
in the
that when you
meantime.
provide those.
I will get those, and I will skip that question until we can.
Generally, if she's aware.
Generally, she is asking if she's aware of specific information that is in the files that you all are relying on. Please provide the witness with copies of that material.
Doesn't know or has no recollection, she's welcome to state so.
We're also welcome to actually see the information that you're speaking to.
And again, the representative is asking general.
I mean,
general
really,
questions.
I mean, I expected a lot of interesting questions today, but Pizzagate was not on my list.
That's okay. We're asking all sorts of things here.
You certainly are. You certainly are.
We're just trying to get the truth out to the American people.
Well,
The truth, yeah, about Pizzagate, totally.
that would be
some clarity.
very helpful.
Are you aware of any files that were on Anthony Weiner's laptop?
This is the Frazzle Drip conspiracy theory, okay? Wow, dude, they're hitting all the greatest hits here. Frazzle Drip conspiracy is another QAnon claim that basically Anthony Weiner was a congressman, I think, and he was married to Huma Abedin, who was Hillary Clinton's aide at the time. This is like 2012, I think. And QAnon, the poster on 4chan, claimed, without any evidence, obviously, that Anthony Weiner, like, he was arrested for sending sending dick pics to minors, basically 16-year-olds or something, I think. And he was rightfully arrested. He was a Democrat. He should have been arrested for that, and he was, and he went to jail for it and everything, and I'm happy with that. But the claim from QAnon was that when the police showed up to arrest him, they found his laptop there, and they opened it, and they turned it on, and they looked at what was inside of it, and they found a video of Hillary Clinton cutting off a 12-year-old girl's face with her tied to a chair and then wearing the face, like Silence of the Lambs style, to get her adrenaline pumping so that she could drink her blood with adrenochrome in it. Now, I don't know who needs to hear this, but adrenochrome is basically spent adrenaline. It's adrenaline that when your body is done with adrenaline, it attaches oxygen molecules to it so that it no longer acts as, a stimulant or whatever. And your body gradually processes the adrenaline out. Processes the adrenochrome out. You can get adrenochrome. Like, you can buy it. It's not like a protected chemical or whatever. It literally doesn't do anything for anybody. It's not like some powerful drug that elites love to drink or whatever. That's completely made up. It's from a movie, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. It's not real. So not only was the story of finding this stuff in the laptop fake, but the entire premise was fabricated. The whole fucking thing was made up. All of it. Literally every last bit. Anyway, that's the Frazzle Drip conspiracy theory. It's insane that she's even bringing this up. Hold on. How to access Susub Shrine. I can't figure it out. Few wells in the area. Drop down the Daya Village Ruins East well. You should be able to just follow the left-hand wall, round the corner, climb up the short cliff on the shrine. The other side of the gate you're running into. Okay. The East well. Got it. The East well. So this one. But I thought I couldn't access that well. Weird. All right.
In a folder that was titled Insurance, Life Insurance, with a zip file titled Frazzle.
This is insane nonsense. Frazzle Drip is insane nonsense. Completely insane. Literally fabricated whole cloth from QAnon. And look at Hillary's reaction to this.
Chairman's ruling.
This
Is
is
this
way
within the
outside the
scope? Is this within the scope, Mr. Chairman?
If the chairman rules that it's not within the scope, I
Mr.
have other
Chairman, based on
questions.
what you said in the public hearing, is this within the scope?
We can go off the record for a moment.
Mr. Chairman, is this within the scope?
We'll go off the record and consult.
Damn, I really wish I knew what was on record. I would love to know what they're saying right now. Long off the record.
And have no.
We'll go back on the record.
Madam Clinton, you have stated that you do not recall meeting Jeffrey Epstein and have no links to him. Have you reviewed any photos, emails, or records from the released Epstein files that might refresh your?
You know, if I were Clinton, I may have tried to talk to her about it and like explain to her that this was made up, that this is nonsense. I would have tried to reach her. I probably wouldn't have been able to. Probably would have been fraught, completely lost cause. But, you know, this is like your opportunity right now to talk to a real QAnoner. I don't know. Maybe it would have been a bad idea from a legal perspective.
Or recollection of any encounter, event, or introduction involving him.
Excuse me, before. You are stating that with respect to her, an interview, or with respect to what she has stated here today?
I'm asking in general, has anything that you have viewed since the release of the Epstein files brought any sort of recollection of an encounter with Epstein?
Not that I recall.
You acknowledged meeting Ghislaine Maxwell on a few occasions in connection with the Clinton Global Initiative. Please describe.
No, she didn't. She didn't meet her through the Clinton Global Initiative. That had nothing to do with anything.
Each meeting in detail.
I did not. I said that, actually, in response to a question, which posited that she had come to the Clinton Global Initiative in 2013, I stated I did not have any involvement in that, and I did not recall seeing her there, but I have seen photos that she has been there, and in 2013, she was very active promoting this ocean work that she was doing, and apparently everybody from the UN to CNN to the TED Talk people thought it was worth giving her a platform.
Madam Clinton, one of the jobs you did for the CGI was helping and maybe even directing the planning of the annual meetings. Is that correct?
No, the staff plans the annual meeting and they make a report and we offer suggestions.
In 2013, Maxwell was recognized ASA Committed to Action Leader.
She made a commitment in 2013 along with hundreds, maybe thousands of other people.
So I find it notable that in 2011, Doug Band says that he directed the Clinton Foundation staff to bar Maxwell from receiving an invite to CGI.
Right. Doug Band was basically an aide to Bill Clinton for a while, and then in 2020 was pissed off at them, so started slandering them with all kinds of shit. Epstein was a known sex offender at this time, so Band started making all kinds of claims about Epstein that are unfounded and that have been verified to be false. He was just trying to hurt them in any way he possibly could, like a fucking scumbag.
Or the Clinton Foundation events. I would like to know who overruled Doug Band's suggestion to bar
Objection.
Maxwell.
Based on hearsay, states facts not in evidence. You can ask the witness if she knows anything about that.
I know nothing about that.
One moment, Ms. Boebert. The federal rules of evidence don't apply in depositions with.
That's fine. I don't know anything about it.
Okay. And so would you also not have any indication that who she was personally recommended by to receive such an
I
award?
was Secretary of State. I was not involved with the CGI planning or operation.
Your husband presented that award, or is that true?
I have no idea.
Okay. And then just a couple of more questions. So regarding the Epstein files, there are many files where Jeffrey Epstein seems to speak as though he does know you personally. in one file, EFTA 006571115. Mr. Epstein is commenting, and he quotes, "Hey, Hillary Clinton is much prettier in person." This was Tuesday, September 20th, 2011.
Okay, 2011.
And then another.
Congressman,
I'm not going to object to that.
Okay, that's funny. The point is, she has no fucking clue what. I mean, we know that they were in the same room together. That was already established like a long fucking time ago. But she had no connection to him outside of just like he went to the White House Historical Society's meeting or whatever because he donated money. I don't understand what the point is here.
Congresswoman, can we see the documents, because we don't think the
we will get that
document says
printed.
it. We don't think the document.
You can't say we will get that for you and continue talking about it. I've pointed out multiple times in this deposition how they've just made shit up completely. They just fabricated it out of the ether and then claimed it was real and asked her about it. Like at one point they said, "So Hillary, you didn't go to the chopper like of the island and then arrive on the island and then go to the blah, blah, blah," and just like made shit up whole cloth. No, that shit never happened. Verified for a fact, never happened.
Okay.
Not that you're not pretty. It does say that.
Jeffrey Epstein has
I'll take it if I can
also
get it.
commented that meetings with Hillary are not easily discreet. Has he ever connected someone to meet with you?
I've never seen that before. I don't think this is real. I think she's making this up.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, I'm going to let my colleagues ask some questions, and maybe I'll be back. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to let staff.
Secretary Clinton, just to circle back on a few things. You mentioned that your daughter Chelsea had a friendly relationship. Is that correct with Miss Maxwell?
I believe so.
And did Chelsea tell you what made the relationship friendly?
Again, it was through Ted Waite, the longtime friend of ours. That's how, I certainly met her.
So Chelsea met Ghislaine Maxwell through Ted Waite as well?
I believe that's right.
And I believe you testified earlier, Ted Waite's been a family friend for like 30 years or something to that effect.
Early 90s, yes.
And having a friend that long, did you never discussed Miss Maxwell with Mr. Waite?
Why the fuck would you discuss a friend of a friend with somebody? I don't understand. Yeah, that does not necessarily happen.
I don't discuss the relationships of my friends. That's up to them.
And so to be clear, you never discussed Miss Maxwell's relationship
You got gummy bears in your ears?
with Mr. Waite.
Not that I recall. Shortly, as my memory is that shortly after the wedding, on July 31st, 2010, shortly after that, they broke up. And shortly after that, he married somebody else.
What? Shit, wait, I didn't know that. So Ted Waite was Chelsea Clinton's husband for like a couple of years?
I know nothing about the relationship. I'm just describing what I believe was the chronology.
Understood. And upon that breakup, as you said, Mr. Waite never said anything to the effect of why they broke up.
Not to me, he didn't.
Circling the 2013 CGI annual conference has been brought up on a few occasions today.
Yes, indeed.
I believe you said you did not remember seeing Miss Maxwell there. Is that correct?
I do not recall seeing her there.
And you had no interaction with her at all?
Not that I recall.
After this 2013 annual conference of CGI, did anyone raise any concerns to you about Miss Maxwell being there?
Not that I recall.
Did, separate from just the 2013 event, did Mr. Band ever raise concerns about Miss Maxwell to you?
Not that I recall.
And again, just to clarify, did Mr. Band ever attempt to blacklist Ms. Maxwell from any Clinton Foundation or CGI events?
Not that I know of, but I can't say that I would have known.
When did Mr. Band leave the foundation?
I don't know. I don't know.
Does 2012 sound possible? Not,
She
I'm
doesn't
not
know,
gonna
so
hold you.
if she's answered, the witness answered the question.
If it was during my time as Secretary of State, I wouldn't have any reason to know.
Who would have final decisions over the list of individuals or entities that would get recognized at a CGI event?
It was a staff decision.
If the staff made the decision, would the board have any input on that?
Not that I'm aware of. They might make suggestions as to people that should be contacted or followed up with, but I don't know specifically, and I certainly don't know anything about her involvement.
Understood. And suggestions, what type of suggestions would they make on individuals or entities?
Oh, they might say, this person's doing great work on affordable housing, or this person has done some really exciting, hygiene work, trying to improve the well-being of people in some countries. It would be things like that. So maybe invite this person because we can maybe introduce this person to somebody who's interested in doing the same kind of work. And maybe they can make a commitment together.
Are you aware of President Clinton having a lunch or other type of meal with Ms. Maxwell in 2014?
I don't recall knowing that.
Have you since been made aware of that fact?
Yes, I have been.
And was that in preparation for this deposition?
It was.
Mm-hmm. I would love to watch the Bill Clinton one as well, but they're so long,
Are you aware of any other more recent meetings between Ms. Maxwell and any members of your family?
I am not.
Does the Clinton Foundation often use jets of other individuals for foundation business?
I'm sure they probably do. Private jets are fucking expensive. People don't realize how much private jets cost. Like, holy shit, they're expensive. And Taylor Swift even loans her jet out all the time to people. She's a billionaire. She can afford a private jet. But unless you're a billionaire, you probably can't afford a private jet. You would want to rent one from somebody, borrow it, or whatever.
Yes.
And that is still a common practice today?
I don't know how common it is, but it has been in the past.
And were there any other type of aircrafts that you are aware of President Clinton traveling on with Mr. Epstein?
I am not aware of any other.
Secretary Clinton, do you know who Nicolas Sarkozy is?
I do, the former president of France.
And do you recall when he was president of France?
He was president while I was Secretary of State, but I don't know,
She is so fucking sharp for 80 years old. It's crazy, right? I would peg her at 60. She could pass for 60.
His actual years of term.
I'm going to introduce as Majority Exhibit 17 an email from the Department of Justice's release of Epstein-related files. Give us 1 second. We will provide that to you all.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Also, while we have a break, I think that Congressman Perry, you wound up with at least 3 of your pages here. 2 of your
Yeah, that's
pages.
true. Here.
So I want to give them back to you because they may have notes or something.
Sure.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
So did Beaubert leave the room then? I guess she's not there anymore with everyone else.
Okay.
She asked her stupid fucking frazzle drip questions and then moved on.
Secretary Clinton, this is a email. The top of the page says to a Oliver Colomb. I will stipulate to you that he was an advisor to President Sarkozy. It is date stamped EFTA 01949592. The original email here is from Mr. Colomb, and he asked, could you organize a discreet meeting between Sarko and Hillary Clinton in New York? If not, who should we ask? Mr. Epstein replies, meetings with Hillary are not easily discreet. When? We started to touch on this earlier. Are you aware of Mr. Epstein or any of his staff reaching out to anyone on your staff to set up a meeting?
I am not aware, and I find it kind of weird because I know Sarkozy, he would not have needed, if you know, somebody was seeking a meeting with me and Sarkozy, he would not have needed to go through anybody else. He could have contacted me directly.
Understood.
Interesting. So this sounds like it's faked. Is that what she's saying? By the by, oh, and I found a new documentary. It's called Bad Faith, Christian Nationalism's Unholy War on Democracy. I think I've seen that before. Let me just pull that up real fast. Bad Faith, Christian Nationalism's Unholy War on Democracy. Let's see. It's a trailer. Interesting. Maybe I'll have to watch this later on.
Make no mistake about it. We are talking.
Seems that, yeah, I'll keep that up. I may take a look at that. Thanks.
And just to be clear, have you seen this email exchange previously?
Yes.
And that was in preparation for today's deposition?
Yes.
But no prior awareness of this email
None
exchange?
whatsoever.
Did Mr. Epstein or any of his agents attempt to set up any other meetings with you?
Not that I know of, but I have no idea what they thought they were trying to do.
Secretary Clinton, we've touched on this a little bit, but just to make sure the record is totally clear here, you have said that you've never been to Mr. Epstein's island. Is that correct?
You know
You've
what?
never been.
I am so tired of answering that question. If you have one scintilla of evidence to the contrary, put it forward. I have never been on his island, period. I've never been in his homes, his offices, his anything. So I don't know how many times you have to say the same thing over and over and over again. And I just am struggling with the relevance of all of this. But no, I never have been.
And based off that response, that would include you've never been to Mr. Epstein's Manhattan townhome,
I have not.
his New Mexico ranch,
No, I have not.
his Palm Beach residence,
No, I have not.
his
She said that that she never met him. That covers all of this shit, right?
Paris apartment.
Didn't know he had one. Haven't been there. You know, I also find it very interesting because I went back and looked at the transcripts of all of your other depositions, and none of the Republicans asked a single question to any witness about Jeffrey Epstein, or any question that would help provide answers for his victims to any of the people you deposed. In fact, the only questions that were asked were asked by the chairman to Attorney General Barr. And what were they about? They weren't about Jeffrey Epstein. They weren't about Ghislaine Maxwell. They weren't about victims and survivors. They were, General Barr, I may jump in for a couple of questions. Were you aware of the involvement of Hillary Clinton and the Clinton campaign in the Russian collusion investigation involving President Trump?
A deposition of Ms. Clinton.
I'm just saying, you have kept me here for hours asking the same questions over and over again. I've given the same answers over and over again. Not a single Republican at any of your depositions has asked a question about Epstein or Maxwell. And it does seem to me that if the members were truly interested in getting to the truth, you would have asked Barr, Acosta, Wexner, you didn't even show up at.
Secretary, I believe we are very close to finishing.
Yeah, she's absolutely right. They're pieces of shit, and they're out to score political points, and that's it. And to talk about frazzle drip, which is fucking absurd on so many levels I can't even articulate. Just a joke. Hey, Owen, do you think we will ever truly eliminate racism, assuming the world doesn't end and cut our time short, 1,000+ years in the future, perhaps? No. I don't think racism is inherent in people. It's like saying bigotry against, like, blonde people and brown-haired people, blondes and brunettes, is inherent in humans. It's not. Finding people that are like you is inherent, you know, people who like the same sports or people who go to the same church or whatever. That's inherent in humans, but bigotry based on hatred, or I'm sorry, bigotry based on like skin color, eye color, hair color, you know, there's nobody that says I hate people because they have gray hair. Nobody says that. That's not a part of who we are as human beings. Racism exists because somebody wants something. It's there because they're trying to get something out of you. Because they're trying to convince you that you have a common enemy. It's not actually, it's not real. So anyway, no, there will always be scumbags who are looking for some way to manipulate people. And racism is the quickest and easiest route to manipulating people into hating somebody and thinking that you have a common cause with them. I don't think we're ever going to eliminate racism, no, unfortunately. There will always be scumbags out there.
Madam Secretary, did Jeffrey Epstein ever request any meetings with your State Department officials?
Not that I'm aware of.
That's been asked and answered, Counsel. She said she's never talked to him. She said that repeatedly.
Well, I guess they have to hear it over and over again for it to...
I think you can rely on your previous
Yeah, whatever.
She's such a hard ass, dude, really. Like, I didn't like Hillary Clinton for the longest time. But looking back, she was right about fucking everything, dude. She was right about every last bit of it. And, like, watching the debates and shit is wild. Watching her, like, run circles around people and point out how the things that Donald Trump says are going to lead to this or that or whatever, it was really, really genuinely impressive looking back now. I did not like her before, but she's fucking awesome nowadays.
Did Ms. Maxwell ever request any meetings between you and your State Department officials?
Not that I'm aware of.
Are you aware of any communication between your State Department staff and Mr. Epstein or Ms. Maxwell?
I am not.
Somebody fucking whispering right now? Like, what is going on? Can't you pick a better time to whisper? And a better place that's not next to a microphone?
Third and final round. Right. This is my third and final round. That's
that's
for
good.
me, okay? That should make you happy. You stated earlier it was false that Secret Service was dropped from some flights with President Clinton and Epstein, correct?
No, she did not say that.
Okay.
No, the majority members, the Republicans, claimed that Secret Service was dropped from some of the flights, and there's no evidence of that.
That said that was
So let the
false.
record reflect.
Okay.
So just for clarification, her husband has never signed off of Secret Service. That means anytime he is traveling or anytime he has gone anywhere, he has not signed off from Secret Service coverage, which means the Secret Service was with him.
Okay, did you know the Secret Service was FOIA'd by FoxNews.com in 2016 asking for this information, and Secret Service refused to provide it? I have a document here.
No, Secret Service did provide this information. They did. I don't know, but what they I don't know what Fox News requested or whatever, but they absolutely turned over the FOIA request. Secret Service did, and it showed that Bill Clinton was never on that island.
Which we can provide
Is
to
the
you.
question that because they refused to provide it?
Information to the press about flight logs, because on a 5-leg trip to Asia in 2016, it says from May 22nd to May 25th, and not a single Secret Service agent is listed on the flight logs. And every other flight that he was on, they were listed on the flight logs. I had
So
this
is your
printout.
question for the
This is an
Secret
exhibit.
Service or is your question for the Secretary?
Well, I believe it was stated earlier that it was false. I'm clarifying that
No,
public
what was stated
reports.
is false. Can we just make sure, can you read back for the record so that you are actually stating the actual
Okay,
fact?
I had stated earlier this afternoon, while we're burning time, I suppose, with the last final 10 minutes of this, it was about the Secret Service not traveling with Clinton. I asked a question about whether or not they traveled with President Clinton at all times, and when I stated that they did not, I heard false. We can get the transcript tomorrow. But this is a Fox News report that you all now have, where it states that the Secret Service did not fly with President Clinton on all flight legs with him.
So Fox News reported this, which I automatically distrust. They reported that they have a copy of flight logs that shows that that did not have Secret Service agents listed as flight participants or whatever, as passengers. That's a word. They didn't have them listed as passengers, but the Secret Service lists Bill Clinton never taking a trip without them. So who am I going to trust more? Fox News and their secret document that they obtained, or the Secret Service's FOIA request? Obviously, I'm going to trust FOIA requests over Fox News any day of the fucking week.
So I wanted to clarify the record.
To be clarified, to clarify, you're saying that because Fox News reported that the Secret Service are
They
lying.
weren't on the flight logs on a 5-leg trip to Asia in 2002.
I believe the
clarify the question, then.
representative asked the secretary, not for your testimony, Ms.
I'm not seeking to testify, I'm seeking to clarify that she is representing what the Secretary said, and that she's not representing it accurately.
Okay, we can quibble over something else then. Earlier, and I don't know if did this get printed off earlier? This 8-page interview with the victim, 1350144.
This article will be majority 18.
Okay, so I have exhibit for majority 19. I don't know if this got printed off. This is will be a document that I would like to enter as exhibit for majority. I guess what number are we on? 19. It is with victim 3501.144. And the document would be -032. I asked for it to be printed off earlier, but I know that we've had issues with printing.
Can we go off the record for just a moment?
Yes.
Go off the rest.
Aw, they went off the record. Damn. I really wish I knew what they were saying when they're off the record.
We will go back on the record.
All right. All right, so this will be the majority exhibit number 19.
She's fucking sick of this. Look at her face. She's fucking done with all of this, and you can't blame her, honestly.
And you have not reviewed this document. Have you seen this document before?
I've never seen the document before.
This is the first time you're ever seeing this document. Earlier today, in my second round, I was asking questions, and I made mention that about Bill Clinton, President Clinton's visits to Epstein Island, and that a possible cover-up about those visits, and I was called a liar, I believe, by somebody on the.
Okay, I don't know about calling her a liar or whatever, but there's no evidence Bill Clinton ever visited the Virgin Islands.
other side of this table. And so I told you
I don't think I did that. Did
that
you?
I would provide this document and go over it with you. This is an interview by the FBI of an Epstein victim. It is 3501.144-032. And on page 8, which I'll give back to you, or I can read it to you. I'll give it this back. If you can read the last sentence.
Would you please read?
I'm not interested in reading something. I have no idea what it is. Do you want to read it? Go right ahead.
Okay, I'll read it. I was called a liar over this. So this particular victim stated on the record in an interview with the FBI, Epstein wanted blank, the name of victim number 1, to say that blank, victim number 2, was a liar and that President Bill Clinton was never on Epstein Island. So I stated earlier for the record that Epstein directed victims to lie about your husband's visits to Epstein Island. I was called a liar. This is the
Excuse me, you were
document.
called, that is not accurate. The record will reflect, and the court reporter can read it back with respect to whether or not President Clinton had ever been on Epstein Island. If somebody had represented that, that would not be accurate.
So I said that
was nobody
Jeffrey
made a
Epstein
statement about
directed
you.
that Jeffrey Epstein directed this victim to state a lie about Bill Clinton never visiting the island. Now on page 7, for the record, which I know you've never seen, there's a fully redacted paragraph, and that fully redacted paragraph in the unredacted files of the DOJ reveal that President Clinton, it redacts his name, and it also discusses notepads that the victim wrote down in phone calls with Jeffrey Epstein because she was told to lie about another victim and lie about Bill Clinton's visits to.
I'm so lost, dude. Like, what are they arguing right now? I feel like they're on this bizarre, winding, twisting road that is completely evidenceless.
To Epstein Island. I don't know why this information is redacted. And also the attachments in this file, by the way, there were notes. You cannot see those at the DOJ. They are still redacted, which is the reason we're here today. We want to get to the bottom of this and get the truth.
They don't want the truth. Nothing about what's happening right now is intended to get the truth.
My next question is...
Excuse me, was there a question?
I'm making a statement. I want to know if she's ever seen this document before, and she was aware. I was called a liar earlier. This victim was told by Jeffrey
Called a
Epstein.
liar, called a liar, called a liar. First of all, I don't believe that. Secondly, it sounds like you are a liar.
To lie about Bill Clinton's
She answered
visits
that
to...
question,
Okay.
Congressman.
I just was answering the question for the attorney. I have majority exhibit number 20 that I would like to enter into the record. And this is page 88 of a federal case between Virginia Giuffre and Ghislaine Maxwell. On page 88...
Hold 1 second.
Like, I think it's obvious that that Jeffrey Epstein was obsessed with Bill Clinton, right? He was obsessed with him. He had paintings of Bill Clinton in his house and all kinds of shit. But it doesn't seem like Bill Clinton was obsessed with Jeffrey Epstein in the same way. It was parasocial for a while there.
That's different. Thank you so much.
That's going to be 20?
Yes, sir.
Could you hold for 1 second, please?
No, this is something else coming here. That's 20, I think.
That's 20, right? He has in his hand 20. Your in your hand is
The other redacted page that we handed out was
the cover page.
A printout we got from the other document to hand to you guys, the Exhibit 19 she was talking about earlier.
So we should be looking at Exhibit 8 right now. Is that right?
Correct.
And not anything related to the other document?
For the record, it is labeled Exhibit 20 but the actual document states Exhibit 8 on the front.
That was just the cover page I had
Yes.
printed off just because these documents are hundreds of pages. I'm not an attorney.
No, forgot it.
And just to be clear, it's a single page of some exhibit to a court filing, and
That's hundreds of pages long.
There are 2 pages.
could you please represent for the record what court filing this is and what the title of the document is?
This would be the Virginia Giuffre v. Maxwell federal lawsuit. It's case 115 CB 07433-LAP, filed on the 1st of January 2024, and it's page 88 of that documentation.
What's the title of the filing?
It's the lawsuit.
Well, there are many.
I don't have the
pages
cover.
in
Have the
in a
cover
lawsuit. Is
page.
it a
I don't have the
complaint?
cover
Is it
page.
discovery? Is it interruption?
I don't like they're squabbling over like confusing nonsense here.
In that document.
We don't know what this is?
Are they not prepared? Was she not prepared for this deposition when she came into it? She's had an additional 3.5, 4 hours to get her shit together, and she's still like all confused.
Okay.
Can we take a minute to read this, please? Thanks.
It's the first shaded paragraph I'm going to ask about.
When I finally edit this, I will cut out the boring parts like this.
For the record, Counselor.
Yes.
And Counselor.
You're whispering into the microphone. We can hear everything you're saying.
The document is a case in the Southern United States District Court for the Southern District of New York in Virginia Giuffre v. Ghislaine Maxwell. And I believe the Congresswoman has already stated the case number that is listed at the top of the document.
Got that. I was just asking what pleading it was. Is it the complaint? Is it discovery? I don't seem to have the title of the document.
This would be the defendant submission regarding search terms and notice of compliance with court order concerning forensic examination of devices.
Thank you.
Ready?
Who's filed this document? Who is? You know,
Ghislaine Maxwell.
Maxwell filed the document, and it was objecting to a search, to a discovery request. I don't understand what.
Could you help us by providing some clarification there?
That is the clarification that we have, that this is her.
It feels like these people are completely unprepared and making like nonsensical arguments and saying nonsensical things. That's what it feels like right now.
File her submission to the court regarding a forensic analysis.
And by her, you mean Ghislaine Maxwell or?
Yeah, Miss Maxwell's. Again, that is here. That is what this document is.
Well, it's a single page of that document.
Can we go off the record for a moment?
Off the record again? Are you fucking serious with this?
We will go back on the record.
May I ask a question? Okay, so court filings, in this particular court filing, it lists you among 13 specific witnesses for whom Virginia Giuffre was seeking all communications. There are no allegations against you, but why do you believe you were included on this list with people like Prince Andrew, Alan Dershowitz, Amy Taylor, the Dubin?
I see. Okay, so Virginia Giuffre created a de facto list or whatever before she died. I think she died of quote unquote suicide, if you will. And Bill and or Hillary were on the list. Is that what they're saying? I think it was a list of people who visited the island, but again, Virginia Giuffre amended the list to say that that was just what she heard, and she heard it incorrectly. That's not true. That, you know, Hillary and or Billary collectively, if you will, were not on the island. They were never on the island. They were never associated with Epstein in any way beyond just taking trips to Africa and Asia for like an AIDS tour or whatever.
And Jean-Luc Brunel, Bill Clinton, and yourself.
Objection. This calls for speculation. It's a partial document. The witness may answer if she can, but it's a list of names in a search term description.
I have no idea.
Did you know at any point that your communications were sought after in this lawsuit?
I know nothing about this.
So you were never made aware that your name was mentioned in this lawsuit?
This first time.
Virginia Giuffre sued Ghislaine Maxwell and listed Hillary Clinton's communications in the lawsuit as communications that they were seeking as discovery. Is that what it is?
I'm seeing this.
No one's ever spoken to you about your name in a lawsuit.
Not that I recall.
Do you think
in
if
this
someone's
lawsuit, excuse me,
yes,
a lawsuit or this lawsuit?
This lawsuit.
Okay, sorry.
This lawsuit. So do you think your staff would tell you if you were named in a lawsuit? Would they brief you on it if you were being named in a public filing or in a lawsuit?
I mean, she wasn't a member of a lawsuit. I think they were just trying to get discovery for something or other. She wasn't like a defendant or whatever.
I don't know what this means. I have no idea.
Your communications were sought by Virginia Gouffre Roberts
Well,
in her suit against Ghislaine Maxwell.
No lawyers that I'm aware of ever contacted me.
No one ever told you?
No.
You're never made aware of that?
Not that I recall.
Did you ever vet the wedding guests of your daughter's wedding? Did you know Ghislaine Maxwell was coming?
Oh my God, dude. They already fucking talked about this 16 times. Like, why do they keep bringing this shit up? They knew, or Ted Waite, which was like Chelsea Clinton's husband at the time, knew Ghislaine Maxwell, and she was like a +1 or something to the wedding.
Came as Ted Waite's guest.
But did you were a former First Lady, former Senator, former Secretary of State. You didn't vet individuals at events for your daughter.
This was filed when?
So it would have been 2024?
Yeah, well, the wedding was 2010.
I moved on to another question about the wedding, but I know that the chairman wants to ask some questions, so.
He's got a few more that I'll ask the last question.
Secretary Clinton, thank you again for being here today. I have one final question for you, and then I will turn it over to the chairman. Would you say that being associated with powerful or influential individuals would give someone credibility, and in this case, Mr. Epstein used that as credibility around the world?
I have no idea what he did or did not do.
Or why that matters to what Hillary Clinton is doing or not doing. Like, yes, obviously Jeffrey Epstein tried to use his loose connection to them as social capital, but he wasn't actually connected in any way to the creation of CGI, it appears, or whatever.
Sure.
Madam Secretary, what if you're following this, and I'm sure you are, in Britain with the arrest of Prince Andrew and the former ambassador to the British ambassador to the United States, they were arrested, it's my understanding, not for sex crimes, but for potential treason or potential violation of national security protocol.
Actually, I think they arrested, what's his name, Prince Andrew, for feeding information to Jeffrey Epstein that was like state secrets that would benefit him. That's why he was arrested.
That a lot of people, and you may call it conspiracy theories or whatever, but I believe I've seen it on CNN, I've seen it on Fox, I've seen it in the Washington Post, the New York Times. There's a lot of speculation that he may have been an asset, and I know several questions have been asked about that today.
Maybe. I don't have any objection to that possibility, and neither did Hillary Clinton.
And you've given a lot of advice for the committee on how we can move forward, and our objective is to get the transparency to the American people, to get the truth to the American people. And by the documents being released, the state documents that we subpoenaed, as well as the DOJ documents, we're already seeing many powerful men and women held accountable. So I feel like this investigation is moving in the right direction. But one of the things where we're stumped is how do we determine whether or not Epstein was a spy, whether or not Epstein was trading secrets, because he had people on the inside, especially in the Obama administration. We're not saying you, but
wait, what? Epstein had people inside the Obama administration? What are you talking about? I've never heard that before.
The Obama's former counsel that then went to Goldman Sachs. Where do we go in this investigation to try to determine whether or not he was an asset?
You know, Mr. Chairman, I really appreciate that question. And I can't say that about many of the questions, but I really do appreciate that question. And I think it's an absolutely essential question for you to try to examine and find answers for. And I think you said that you had either document requests or maybe even a subpoena to the CIA. I would also include the DNI. I would include, any counterintelligence or appropriate unit within the Justice Department. I think you have to cast a wide net. And now that, as you describe, the government in the UK is investigating both Andrew Mountbatten and Peter Mendelsohn, maybe they would cooperate with you in their investigation. And maybe, you know, you could reach out to the intelligence agencies of other countries that you're looking at. Israel has been mentioned. Perhaps that is one to be. I don't think Iran is going to cooperate, but I think, or Russia, but I think you could, you know, certainly go to the UK and go to Israel and see if they would be at all helpful to you.
In your experience as Secretary of State, and I know you were First Lady, but you were more active, in my opinion, than most First Ladies in the President Clinton's administration. Does he exhibit characteristics? Is there a pattern that would lead you and your expertise to believe that he was an asset?
Well, there certainly is in the files, and I do commend you for getting as much.
This is actually an interesting question. You are a very knowledgeable and intelligent person, and you're very experienced. You have institutional knowledge in this field, in this area of study or whatever. Does your knowledge and experience and understanding of how these things work lead you to believe that he might have been an asset? That is really interesting, actually. I appreciate that question.
Much released as you can. I hope you can get it all released. You know, hints of relationships with powerful foreign leaders, pictures, emails, meetings. He was clearly somebody who traded off of information.
Exactly.
He liked to collect it and then he liked to use it. I don't know any more details than that. So he is certainly, I said earlier, you know, the intelligence connections, the money connections, the crimes, those seem to me to be the, you know, the three major elements of your investigation.
And obviously, as the last question before my questions, he wanted to make the appearance, at least, that he had friends in high places. And you've seen the emails that have been released. And I know you've testified today that you've never met Epstein, but he's implied to people that he was very close to the Clintons. He's implied that he was very close with Donald Trump. He's implied that he was close with a lot of people who, even Wexner denied that he was very close. I don't know how many of us believe that, but it's what he said under oath.
Well, it was obviously like Les Wexner, I'm sorry, was very close to Epstein. There's no question about that. He sent him emails about his littlest girl being naughty or whatever other fucking vile, evil shit there was there. So we all know who Les Wexner is.
And it's just amazing to me, and I think most Americans who are following this, how this guy could have Prince Andrew, you know, a frequent visitor, have people from you know, the Saudi royal family, people at the highest levels in several administrations, and that's why we brought you in. We're just trying to get answers, and again, I think that.
But she doesn't have any, obviously. She was not involved in any of this. Hey, Owen, Kristi Noem just got fired. No, really? Holy heckers, that's a big deal. Let's see. Wow, she is fucked. Trump announced Kristi Noem will be stepping down at the end of the month. Has tapped Senator Mark Wayne Mullen. Oh, not him. Served us well. Said she'll move into a new role called Envoy for the Shield of the Americas. Okay, great. He grew frustrated with Noem following her testimony before the House and Senate committees this week, with sources saying he told Republican lawmakers he was unhappy with how it went. The deeper context is the pressure had been building for weeks after ICE operations in Minneapolis turned deadly. 2 citizens were killed, including Alex Preddy and who is an ICU nurse. And Noam faced bipartisan backlash after claiming Preddy had brandished a firearm before his death, which video evidence directly contradicted. Interesting. Wow. Okay. Good. That's good news. Glad to hear it.
One of the big questions, and it looks like that's the direction Britain's going, is was he a spy? Was he committing treason in any country? So that's why we would welcome any advice if you have any thoughts after this or anything else.
Mr. Chairman, I want you to get to the bottom of this to the best of your ability. Mm-hmm. And, I'm more than happy to offer whatever insight I might have, as you say, about the framework of this, and also about any further actions to take on trafficking to strengthen our response.
And that's one more question. I think we've got 1 minute left, or 2 minutes left. So you obviously stated in your opening statement that you were involved with human trafficking and trying to prevent that. With what you've seen in the files, what Epstein was doing with those girls, recruiting other girls to come in, does that meet the legal definition of human trafficking?
It was absolutely human trafficking. I read about it. I read a book called Perversion of Justice, I believe, by Julie K. Brown, who blew the lid off the whole thing in Florida like forever ago. And the bottom line is he would go to middle and high schools in the area looking for girls who were vulnerable emotionally and financially, whose parents didn't care where they were or who they were with, and he would pay them $500 to come hang out at his house for a while, and Ghislaine Maxwell would take her clothes off around them, just get completely naked to try to kind of normalize it. A woman taking her clothes off around a woman isn't so bad, right? And before you know it, Jeffrey Epstein would walk in a towel, and then he would walk in without a towel, and then she would find herself in a room with a massage table, and he'd say, you just got to, give me a massage, and that's all, and I'll take my towel off, and we'll do it naked. In fact, let's both be naked, that kind of thing. Alan Dershowitz, Jeffrey Epstein's personal lawyer, we found out got a massage, quote unquote, from these girls. And he said, but the underwear stayed on, so it's okay. I mean, once you know how the whole thing worked, it's fucking evil and vile and disgusting and disturbing as shit.
Or is it more of prostitution? Because one of the things that we want to do...
Was it human trafficking or was it prostitution? It was human trafficking, because he was also sending girls to other people's houses if they were, talking about it a bit. Like, what's his name? Lutnick? Howard Lutnick. That's it. He was Epstein's neighbor, and he started asking questions, and so Epstein sent a girl over to his house, and he did the stuff with the girls. And he did this with a lot of people. It wasn't just Nutlick. It was lots of people, so.
At the end of this investigation, and I think Ms. Mace will play a big role in that.
I'm sorry, one more thing. Epstein also got girls to bring in other girls. Basically got the survivors to... if they brought in another, they would get $300 or whatever. And the girl who did the massage would get $500, for example.
At the end of this investigation, and I think Ms. Mace will play a big role in that. And Ms. Luna and Ms. Simon and all the members in both parties, hopefully, is trying to strengthen the human trafficking laws. And some people have suggested that based on what they've seen, maybe some of that wouldn't have, the government could have prosecuted him on human trafficking.
Yeah.
They absolutely could have. He actually looked for undocumented immigrants in the area and found one particular girl who was 13, I believe, undocumented, and he emancipated her from her parents because her parents weren't around, and she lived at his mansion. And she kept a teddy bear by her bed to remind her of when she was a child. That's fucking sad, right? He was actually keeping girls in his house. And some of those girls actually believed that they were in love with him. Some of those girls stayed with him and defended him and protected him and lied for him because they believed that they were in love with him and that he was in love with them. I mean, it's like a cult is how it operates. And that's how human trafficking works. That's pimping, for example. Pimping is a form of human trafficking. It's not prostitution. Prostitution is a girl choosing to sell herself for money. Pimping is the human trafficking aspect where they coordinate the prostitution ring or whatever.
Didn't meet the definition. Do you have anything to add?
Well, I don't know all the specifics that you have at your disposal, but I've also read in some of the press that he was importing women from other countries. So I do think there's a distinction probably between what happened in the United States, but also what he was doing in other countries. So I think, but really, Mr. Chairman, you have to study this and analyze it and then advise your other colleagues in the Congress, your colleagues in the administration about laws that need to be changed and strengthened and resources that should be directed. Because at the end of the day, girls and women were abused, whether they were abused through solicitation of prostitution and the lies and the promises that were made to these, young women. And that in itself is just despicable. But then a system that, got close to customs agents, got close to local prosecutors. I mean, this man was a master manipulator, a con artist of the nth degree. And so anything you can do to try to understand the way he operated and how he really misled and duped so many people into thinking that, he was intelligent and he was, interesting and everything they say about him in their in the emails that have come out. So that would be a great public service to try to really understand this and to break it down into the different categories that you're looking at.
Hopefully we can do that in a bipartisan manner. I believe.
We'll go off the record. Thank you.
That's the end. Wow, that was fascinating. Tell me what you think about it in the comments. Absolutely fucking disgusting, the whole thing. And that they brought her in, like, why? They asked her about literally Frazzle Drip and Pizzagate. Insane. Tell me your thoughts. All right. There were a couple of things that I wanted to cover normally. Just like normal videos. 1 second here. Let me just pull this up. It was an old article from like 15 years ago or something that I wanted to hit. Hold on. All right, I already covered this. Oh yeah, Royce White. I'll look that up later. That's for later. That's also for later. What's this? Hold on.
Year in.
Let me open this. Yeah, all right, let's cover this real quick. Can you, like, fucking leave me alone with all these ads? Jesus Christ. I found this old article from 2014. Creationist Ken Ham says aliens will go to hell, so let's stop looking for them. And I find this so fascinating when we come across like creationists, young earth creationists, kind of perspective on aliens. It's so wild to me. Let's just like read through some of this. I also have some videos recently of some televangelists talking about aliens. Creationist Ken Ham, who recently debated Bill Nye the Science Guy over the origins of the universe, is calling for an end to the search for extraterrestrial life because aliens probably don't exist, and if they do, they're going to hell anyway. I guess Jesus didn't die for their sins, huh? You see, the Bible makes it clear that Adam's sin is affected. You see, the Bible makes it clear that Adam's sin affected the whole universe, Ham wrote on his blog on Sunday. This means that any aliens would also be affected by Adam's sin. What? I don't understand. What a nonsensical thing to say. I thought Adam and Eve, the analogy I was given when I was little is it's like a bread pan. If you put a dent in the bread pan, then every loaf of bread made from that pan is going to have that same dent. That's original sin. You know, original sin is not actually from Christianity originally. Like, that was added. The concept of original sin was added way later, hundreds of years later. Anyway, so is he saying that aliens are descendants of Adam and Eve? This means, no, I read that. The post was driven in part by NASA experts saying that they expect to find evidence of alien life within the next 20 years. I think we've found evidence of alien life on Mars. It's highly improbable in the limitless vastness of the universe that we humans stand alone, NASA Administrator Charles Bolden said last week. But Ham, president and CEO of Answers in Genesis and the Creation Museum in Petersburg, Kentucky, said we probably are alone. He wrote, Earth was specially created, and the entire hunt for extraterrestrials is really driven by man's rebellion against God in a desperate attempt to supposedly prove evolution. What a joke, dude. If aliens do exist, however, Ham said, even Jesus can't save them. Quote, Jesus did not become the God Klingon or the God Martian. Only descendants of Adam can be saved. God's Son remains the God-man as our Savior. In fact, the Bible makes it clear that we see the Father through the Son, and we see the Son through his Word. To suggest that aliens could respond to the gospel is just totally wrong. The God-man. I've never heard that before. What the fuck? These people are so weird, dude. So let's talk about the other times that recently televangelists have talked about aliens. Let me find it.
There are no...
Yeah, here we go. This one is Kat Kerr, Nutter Butter of Epic Proportions.
This next politician...
So you would... And she actually got...
There are no...
Dude, I don't even know how to describe her. Just schmoobly gong, that feels right. But let's just listen to what she said about aliens.
There are no aliens, people. That might crush your hopes for a new planet to live on. And, but there are demons that live on some of the vacant planets or planets nobody knows anything about. They try to take over it. However, the Father always sends... This is something you have not talked about. The Father has an army. We know that in heaven. Yes. Some of them who've done major warfare has been outside the realm of the world called heaven, and they will go.
The world called heaven. Yes. She thinks that heaven is an actual world that you go to, like an actual like location, physical location that's round.
By and cleanse these planets all the time that Satan is trying to take over and do things on, or convince people that there were aliens that we're going to welcome you here.
Yes.
If you are asked by any being that's not a human being, you test that spirit. If a spirit comes and walks through your wall and said, oh, I'm here to take you to great places. I want to show you something new Jesus is doing, so come with me. Don't you dare go anywhere until you say these words. Mm-hmm. Are you of the spirit of the Most High God who sent his Son to die for the sins of this world? Mm-hmm. If it is demonic, it can't answer you. It cannot lie.
Wait, demons can't lie? This is news to me. I've never heard that one before.
You cast it out and say, get out in Jesus' name.
Amen.
So that's the test.
Bro, these people are so fucking weird. I swear to God.
The word tells you test all spirits. People don't do it, Then they go with them. They're going to some place like there's a mock hell and there's a mock heaven. They'll show people in heaven that would never be there. That's a mock heaven. Then they'll show people in hell, like Christians. Oh, these Christians are here and we need to let you know, tell them, don't wear blue jeans. You cannot wear jewelry. They're burning over here in hell because this is what they're doing. That is a mock hell. Wow. But that person did not test those spirits.
She is so fucking weird, dude. Every word out of her mouth is bizarre. This is Jack Hibbs, and it was he's a televangelist. It was the result of some hearings that were happening about UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena or whatever. He was trying to address the possibility that aliens might exist.
So you would normally think, UFOs, I knew it from other planets, all this stuff, wow. Fox Mulder was right. X-Files, yes. George Jetson, I get it.
He is dating himself. Fox Mulder from the X-Files and George Jetson. Somebody tell me, is the X-Files worth watching? I heard good things about it long and long ago, but I'm very curious. Is it an interesting watch?
And yet I think that what is truly behind all this stuff is what has been truly behind everything. For the record, I do not believe in creatures from other worlds. I do not believe in other planets. I don't believe...
I'm sorry, you don't believe in other planets? What does he mean by that? Does he mean he doesn't think other planets exist?
And these creatures are visiting us from other places. I believe it's demonic, demons, fallen angels, because you have no idea, nor do I, what a fallen angel is. You don't know what they can produce. You don't know what they can create. Well, Jack, we have UFO materials that have been collected from crash sites.
No, we don't, actually.
I understand that.
He's the most gullible motherfucker alive, isn't he? Like, he's willing to believe just about anything. Even when we have, like, no proof that this is real, he still believes it.
That has been scientifically tested.
No, it hasn't.
I just believe the origin is an act of deception by Satan to get people duped.
So anyway, God, these people are fucking bizarre, dude. Apparently he thinks that aliens are actually demons. These are absurd human beings. And I find it so fascinating when worlds kind of collide, when they have to address questions that make absolutely no sense within their worldview. It is so interesting. Like, is it likely that aliens exist? How will they have a Bible if you find aliens? Will they have a copy of the Bible? Did Jesus visit them? And if he didn't, how do you reconcile that? What if aliens came and visited us? And the answer is, they're demons. Absolutely fucking wild, dude. I am fascinated by these people and how absurd they are. I mean, Kat Kerr has her own set of, I don't even know what word to use to describe it. If you don't know Kat Kerr, here's another little ditty from her. This is her explaining that you're going to sleep with Jesus. You're going to consummate your marriage with Jesus when you get to heaven, which is a real physical planet. And that includes men. Guys, gals, and non-binary pals are going to consummate their relationship with Jesus when they reach heaven. And it's not going to be gay, apparently.
I mean, his love is so great. I don't even remember what I was going to say to him. So don't make your list. You won't care. Because you are in love with Jesus Christ.
Gay.
He is your bridegroom, whether you're male or female. Oh my. So the women in the spirit can be spiritual kings. He is King of kings, female kings, and male kings. Lord of lords, male lords, female lords. We are priests unto our God, male and female.
So she's saying that gender has no meaning in the kingdom of heaven. I guess she's saying that everybody is non-binary when they go to heaven, right?
There's only one wedding in heaven, and we'll all be very happy we're going to it. He told me to share this one last thing. A lot of people ask me all kinds of questions about what will your relationship be like, because you know what I'm talking about when I say when men and women
I do know what you're talking about. Please tell me more, Kat.
live together
Yes.
as husband and wife. Will that all go away? Well, the flesh part, absolutely yes. But when we have our betrothal with Jesus Christ,
Betrothal. Go on. You have my attention.
spirit joins spirit into one. And it is the most powerful thing you'll ever experience in your life, ever. The two shall become one. They even say that at a ceremony.
Sounds hot.
It says that husband and wife, the relation of a husband and wife, is a symbolic of Christ and his church or his bride. So we will be able to step inside of each person's, not each person, but we'll be able to step inside Father, Son, Holy Spirit. We step inside the Father, Christ steps inside the Father, Holy Spirit steps inside Father, and we are all one.
So the point is that you're going to sleep with Jesus, whether you're a man or a woman, and you're going to enjoy it. Anyway, these people seriously need help. Like, they are fucking weird, dude. They are really fucking weird. Tell me what you think in the comments. All right, let's see. Was there something else I wanted to hit before I get off of here? I don't think so. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. And I will talk to you guys on the flippity flip, okay? That will be on Sunday. All right, later.